This love is ill. I wish that it was different. Don't know what it is that made us so indifferent. We're drifting in the dark. Can we do better? Wish I could rewind back to the start. Can we do better than this? Better. You got me high and drop me low. You got something I can sip to let go. This love is ill. I wish that it was different. Don't know what it is that made us so indifferent. We're drifting in the dark. Can we do better? Wish I could rewind back to the start. Can we do better than this? Better. You got me high, then drop me low. You got something I can sip to let go. You got me high, then drop me low. You got something I can sip to let go. To let go.
Hello and welcome everyone back to another round of the Virtual Drift Championship. This is round 5 here at Luddenham Raceway. My name is Craig. With me as always is Tanner. What's up, Tanner?
What is happening, Craig? Excited to be back for yet another round, the penultimate round of this season. And what a track did you guys throw at these drivers? We're always looking for a way to shake them up, and I think this one just might be it.
Yeah, it just might do it. No wall bumpers this round either as well. We've got some very large outside zones. We do have one inside clip. Let's go straight to today's line map. So the start of the course at the bottom of your screen there, through the chicane and down the, we'll say medium, kind of short size run up, and then throw that car into your first large decel zone and then quickly on throttle right after you're in to that first massive outside zone there on the first turn. Follow that all the way around as that turn decreases in its radius, and we want to see those drivers kind of add angle through there. They're allowed to use a little bit of left foot brake in the beginning portion of that outside zone, and then smoothly around and transition across the track into clip 2, your next outside zone. And then here's where you start to go quite steep up a hill. We want to see those drivers stay in the middle of the course there through that section of the course, leaving outside zone 2 and heading into outside zone 3 and filling that zone all the way at the top of the hill, transitioning back for a small manji at clip 4, and then your next very large outside zone at clip 5. Again, no walls. Very obvious when a driver drops any sort of tire today. We'll definitely see some three-wheeling action going on if they do end up dropping a tire. And then down into clip 6, your next outside zone, and quite the large decel area there as well. But we want to see those drivers make it very smooth through there. You can kind of transition right into 6, maybe give it a little handbrake stab, but from there you can really kind of float it on down there and use your car's side bite and angle to then pick up throttle once you're in clip 7 and drive around that last and final hairpin around that inside clip at clip 8 and then out to your last outside zone. We want to see those drivers stay off that inside rumble strip as well, as that's really quite the sausage curb there and can upset that vehicle. So there is your today's line map. Quite the track. Yeah, almost doing the full track. What do you think, Tanner?
Well, I think it's really going to show precision in the driving, right? Like, we were so used to kind of these shorter zones, where now we have these long zones where any mistake is really going to show itself and hurt their score. And with the championship as close as it is, these guys are going to have to bring absolutely everything today if they want even a chance to make it through the battles, let alone the last 16 qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. As we can see here too, the track is not very wide at all. You don't get a whole lot of room throughout the entire track there, so drivers will need to be very, very careful in not dropping any tires today. So group 1 we've had loaded into the server. Abdul Rahman Al Shetwi is going to start us off today, and then it'll be Oliver Eppinger, Brandon Patrick, Nico Stalea, Alan Himes, Samuel Cuddy, Dejan Reeves, Abdulaziz Al Harbi, and Danielis Parangauskas, and Brett Wolford, all in the first group. So we do have our first driver at the line ready to go, Al Shetwi. And staff letting him know the lights are illuminating. And he's off for run 1. Starting us out. Smooth decel, smooth entry, and look at there along the track edge all the way through outside zone 1. Smooth transition across and staying on throttle. Up the hill. Another smooth transition, putting that wheel right along that line there. Down through the Manji section. One more transition up. Again, choosing to stay on throttle. There are very small off throttle areas through the course, and picking up throttle on time around that inside clip, kind of working to the outside, and there he goes across the finish line. Abdul Rahman Al Shetwi starting things off.
Coming out swinging for the first run of the day, a 94.3 on the board full of Duelerman. Wow, what a clean run, a good showcase of just how you can nail this run. But it can show you how quickly it could go wrong if you miss it. At the line now, Oliver Eppinger, ready to go for run number 1, coming off the heels of that 94.3 that Abdulrahman just put down. Let's see what happens here. Oliver gets the lights, and he is off for run number 1, initiates in, carrying lots of speed through outer zone 1. Not quite getting out to the track edge, but filling the zone nonetheless. Makes the transition, outer zone 2. Throws it nicely into outer zone 2. Now to outer zone 3. Trying to get as close to that yellow line, but he's doing it consistently in every outer zone through the Manji section. Now look at this, beautifully on the angle, on the throttle, little bobbles here and there, just adjusting that angle, maybe kicking up a bit of dirt there as he comes to that second to last outer zone, but rips through and finishes it out.
Wow, so 2 runs starting things out crazy. A 94 on the board already. Oliver Eppinger 86.2. Next up, Brandon Patrick returning back in the Z4. And through the chicane. On the throttle. Initiating in and picking up throttle quickly. He's working that car out to that track edge. Filling outside zone 1. Good snappy transition across into 2. Working his way up that steep hill now. Good transition across, a little slow on it, but filling outside zone 3, leaving that yellow line just a little bit. But again, it's run 1. I don't blame him here. Filling this large outside zone 5 into 6 now. 7 all the way up to that track edge and down to the inside clip. Brandon Patrick across that finish line.
Brandon Patrick on a heater there, trying to maybe match that 94.3 that Abdulrahman put up, but just shy of it. 91.5 on the board as we move around to Nico Stalea sitting at the line. I think that's one thing in this run a lot of people maybe at home didn't see was the elevation change that'll matter here. So we'll see it with Nico as he initiates into outer zone 1. Beautifully done along that yellow line, leaves it just a little bit, but then quickly gets back out to it. Transitions for outer zone 2, keeping those tires right on that yellow line. Up the hill, makes that transition. Got to stay on throttle to keep it in the zone, and he does. Looking clean here so far for Nico Stalea. He comes to that long outer zone, holding a nice angle, keeping it in the zone, transitioning. Little bobble there as he makes the transition to try and dive into that inside clip, but he makes it through the run nice and clean.
Yeah, sure did. I mean, almost perfect there up until maybe that last and final hairpin. Just picking up throttle maybe just a little bit too soon and kind of jumps out of that outside zone 7 heading to the inside clip. But still, look at there, a 91.5 on the board for Nico Stalea. Up next, Alan Hines. Back in his Team Hines RTR Mustang. And through the chicane. Alan Hines entering in all the way out there to that track edge. Staying on that throttle. And a smooth transition into 2, filling outside zone 2, working his way up the hill. Good line up the hill, right smack dab in the middle of that course. And along that track edge 4, outside zone 3, down into 4, and into 5. Probably the biggest outside zone on this course, maybe throughout the whole season. As he transitions one more time down the hill, working his way around that inside clip, and finishing out his first run.
Our current points leader, Alan Hines, comes out swinging in run number 1. 97.8 on the board, showing the other competitors that are very close to him in the points, I'm not here to mess around today. Samuel Cuddy sitting at the line, ready to go for run number 1. The lights go on and off he goes. Start his run of qualifying. Coming off that Alan Hines' 97 though, that's got to be intimidating. Little bobble there off the initiation through outer zone 1 for Samuel Cuddy, making his way up towards outer zone 2. Transitions nicely through outer zone 2, right along that yellow line on the track edge. Transitions up the hill to outer zone 3. And doing so nicely, keeping the car exactly where it needs to be through the Manji section into outer zone 4. The long outer zone, keeping it nice and tidy, throwing tons of angle to get through that hairpin nice and clean. And a very nice run there from Samuel.
Yeah, not too bad to start things off for Samuel Cuddy as he drives back around after his first run. 85.5 on the board. Deshaun Rampage Reeves at the line. Back in his AOM Corvette. And lights are on through the chicane. A speedy entry from Rampage here as he picks up throttle work in his way through this first outside zone. Hammering down now into outside zone 2. Working his way up the hill. Really pouring on the angle there before transitioning into outside zone 3 and putting his wheel along that yellow line. Down into the small outside zone 4 and now 5. Can he keep it on the course? He's going to drop a little bit of tire there, but saves it, keeping it going into outside zone 7 now around that inside clip. Final outside zone and across that finish line.
Well, I think that's the fastest we've seen somebody go through that outer zone today. That was a lot of speed. I didn't think he was going to get it slowed down for the final hairpin. Ends up with an 87.2. Still has run number 2, but an 87 is still a pretty good score here, at least for Group 1, as Abdulaziz Al Harbi sits at the line, ready to go for their first run of qualifying. Lights go on, and let's see what they can do. Out of the gate, down the straight, initiates in. Looks good off the initiation, not as deep as he probably wanted it. Drives off the zone as he tries to get up that hill. Out of outer zone 1, makes it in for outer zone 2, locking up those front tires though, trying to get that car to get all the way to outer zone 2. He needs the wheel speed here to try and fill outer zone 3. Makes it now through the Manji section. He's going to gain a bit of speed from that downhill and gets into that long outer zone and holds it there, not filling it, but gets through it. Is now only a couple more to go through that inside clip and push it all the way out to the final outer zone. Abdulaziz getting some points on the board.
Yeah, we'll have to see there from that big mistake. I wonder if maybe his tune wasn't loaded in, or yeah, maybe just a big mistake there on that first outside zone. We'll see if points do end up coming across, as I could see that maybe being unchaseable as we skip ahead to Danielis. Now it does look, yeah, it's 63.2 on the board, but Danielis Parangauskas entering in, goodness gracious, picking up throttle and staying on the track somehow as he continues on through outside zone 1 and into 2, staying on throttle. Ooh, and dropping just a little bit of tire there. He's going to end up a little bit far track right before getting into outside zone 3 as well, as he continues on, filling 4 now and into 5. Chooses to be a little bit careful. It ends up on that track edge, filling 6, now 7. Around that inside clip. Parangauskas across that finish line.
Parangauskas looking good on his run. Just that little bobble there as he headed towards the final hairpin. Ends up with a 90.8 on the board. Now for the final driver, the first set of runs for group number 1. Brett Wolford sitting at the line in the Mustang. Before we head things back up to the top for run number 2 for everybody. The lights go on and off he goes. Initiating in for Brett, looking good off the initiation, drives off the zone just a little bit midway through it, but holds there and gets out to that track edge just before the end of it. Makes the transition work into outer zone 2 though, putting it right where he needs to be. Now to drive up that hill, using all the power that Mustang can get out of it. Gets through outer zone 3 through 4, now 5. The long outer zone 5 holds nice angle through it. Then he comes the final section of the course. Couple more zones to go. Drives it too far forward through the inside clip, jumps the curb, but finishes out the run.
Oh man, it was going very well for Brett there until that last and final turn. 83.2 on the board. So back around to our first qualifier. Abdul Rahman Al Shetwi coming off his 94.3 to start the round out. See what he can do for run number 2. As he initiates in. Lots of speed this time, picking up throttle and once again staying on that track edge through outside zone 1. Adding a little bit of angle before transitioning into 2. Working that track edge. Now up the hill. Smooth transition up this time. As again, just planning that wheel along that track edge for 4 as well. Maybe a little kick of dirt there. Oh, and he does drop a little bit of tire there. And 5 keeps it going. If you can stay pinned in it, you can keep it going. Save it around that inside clip. Filling the last and final outside zone. Now Shetwi.
Now, shall we? If in doubt, flat out. He took that model all the way home for run number 2 as we wait for his score to come in here. It is going to hurt it, and it does. An 87.7 for run number 2, but has that 94.3 from run number 1. Oliver Eppinger at the line now, sitting on an 86.2 and wanting to maybe move up into that 90s mark. As the lights go on, and we get to see run number 2. Initiates in. Looking good so far off the initiation, gets on throttle, but kind of drives off that zone a little bit, tries to make it back out, but couldn't make it happen before the transition to outer zone 2. Gets along that track edge now for outer zone 2, leaves it in the go, starts driving up the hill to outer zone 3. Just almost ever so close to that track edge as he comes through the Manji section to outer zone 5. Lots of angle, driving off though, dropping a tire, maybe 2. Gets it back on track though. Gets through the final 3 outer zones and finishes out his run.
Yeah, starting to see that a lot now, dropping some wheels on that outside zone 5, a 74.3. So Oliver will have to stick with this 86.2 and hope that it carries him on into the battles. I believe we have 47 drivers today, so only three will not be making it into battles. Here's Brandon Patrick with his 91.5 already on the board and initiating. Big angle, does jump out of the track edge just a little bit, stays in the zone, keeps things going. Transitioning into 2, a little puff of dirt there, just a little bit. Up the hill now. He picks up some speed here for outside zone 3. Back down the little valley there for 4 and up into 5. Oh, and dropping some tire. Believe that's what 3 in a row we have now. Picking up throttle early, carrying a ton of speed around that last and final hairpin. There he goes across that finish line. So we'll probably stay with the 91.5.
Yeah, more than likely there as we look over. And yes, a 78.2 on the board for the second run there for Brandon Patrick. But I think the first run, a lot of drivers, they kind of played it safe, felt it out, and now they're, okay, let's see what happens if we leave our foot in it for run number 2. Sitting on a 91.5, Nico Stalea at the line, ready to go for run number 2. Let's see if maybe the trend continues here. Initiating in, lots of speed, lots of angle, holding it right out to that track edge. I thought he was going to drop tire, but he didn't as he makes the transition now to outer zone 2, keeping it nice and tidy. Now to drive it up the hill. Makes it work, gets into outer zone 3 nicely. Down the hill to outer zone 4, makes the Manji work. Now the long of outer zone 5. Holds it in the zone, just a slight little adjustment there as he comes through 6 and 7 to that inside clip, pushes out for 8, finishes out the run nicely. Nico Stalea.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Wow.
Nico, chill out here. The 97.5 on the board. He may have dropped just a teeny tiny little bit of tire on that outside zone 5. We saw the smoke kind of go away for just a split second and that follow front wheel kind of pop up. But either way, crazy score, crazy run. Alan Hines to follow it up with his 97.8 already on the board, picking up that throttle and riding the track edge for outside zone 1. Snappy transition into outside zone 2 now, and working up the hill now. And again, on a good line there, up into outside zone 3. And transition for 4 into 5. Can he keep it on the course? Alan Hines working his way through that large outside zone. Good transition down the hill, picking up throttle and around the inside clip. Run complete. Alan Hines. Holy smokes.
Alan Hines. He is currently leading the championship, and well, I think that just solidified his lead a little bit more. A 98.8 on the board for Alan Hines. That is absolutely mental. As we move on now to Samuel Cuddy, 85.8, wants to improve, wants to get a better score up on the board. Let's see what Samuel has in him for run number 2. The lights go on, and off he goes. Initiates in. Looking good off the initiation. Gets back on throttle. Holds it through outer zone 1 nicely. Now the transition to outer zone 2. Puts it right to the track edge and holding it beautifully through outer zone 2. Now to get up into outer zone 3. Keeps it right along that track edge. Samuel looking good so far in the first half of this course. Kicking up a bit of dirt off the managing section. Now into outer zone 5. A little bobble here and there, but makes the whole outer zone as he gets it slowed down for that hairpin and pushes out to the finish. A very nice run there from Samuel.
It wasn't. I think it might be enough to better the 85.8, but we'll wait and see. There it is, 87.5 now on the board.
86.8. There was still one more score that had to come in.
Just coming right on in. Whoa. Sean Reeves at the line. And through the chicane for run number 2. Off the 87.2. And initiating in that Corvette. I'm massaging it around that outside zone 1. Trying to reach for that track edge and transitioning into outside zone 2 now. Working his way up the hill and adding angle there and ending up a little bit on the track right before transitioning into outside zone 3. Feels it good though, and 4 as well, right along that track edge into 5. And he hammered down and keep it on the course. Does drop a little bit of tire, but keeping things going. And outside zone 7 around the inside clip. Last and final outside zone across that finish line.
Sean Rampage Reeves wanting to improve, but doesn't with that tire drop. An 82.8 for run number 2, so he'll stick with that 87.2 as his high score. So now sitting on the lowest score here in Group 1, 63.2 is Abdulaziz Al-Harbi. He needs to improve this. Only 3 drivers can get potentially knocked out today. Not see battles at all. Let's hope it's not you, Abdulaziz. Initiating in. Looking more confident off the initiation this time. Still struggling to reach that track edge, but keeps it in the zone all the way through outer zone 1. Now transitioning to outer zone 2. Nicely done, right near the track edge. Just a little shy of that yellow line. Puts it all the way on the yellow line for outer zone 3, though. Down the hill now for the Manji section. No tire drop into the very long outer zone 5. And holds it nicely. Starting to shake off the jitters. Those pre-run nerves as he's come into qualifying, as he makes his way through that final hairpin. I think that's definitely going to improve that 63.2.
Yeah, I think so. It was a little bit track left, leaving outside zone 2, working his way up the hill. 71.2 on the board for his second run. Almost seems like he didn't quite have enough wheel speed for the first part of the course, because the second half of the course was bang on for Harvey. But here we are with Parangauskas back at the line, coming off his 90.8. Yeah, what it takes to better that score. Picking up throttle, a little bit of bobble in that angle as he works his way around that first turn and first outside zone. Transitioning into outside zone 2 now to add a little bit of angle. transitioning up the hill, filling outside zone 3, putting his wheel along that yellow line. Good on 4 as well. Good transition into 5. Can he keep it on the course? And he does for that long outside zone. And a big transition into 6, 7 now. Around 8 and finishing out the course.
Parangauskas there really coming out swinging for run number 2. Improves that 90.8 all the way up to a 92.3, moving him just a little farther up that board. To our last driver of Group 1, Brett Wolford, sitting on that 83.2, looking to improve. What can you do for our final run here of Group 1? Initiates in, looks good off the initiation, lots of angle, gets back on throttle nice and early, holds it through, kind of drives off the track edge just a little bit, but gets back out there before the end of outer zone 1. Now through outer zone 2, nice and clean, up the hill towards outer zone 3. Howdy didn't drop a tire there. I do not know. Through outer zone 3, now through the Manji section into outer zone 5. Does he keep it on the track? He does, using a little bit of left foot brake there, but holding it together as he comes to the final section of the course. Now putting that run together. I think he'll like that over that first run for sure.
Goodness.
Wow.
As you say, I don't know how he didn't drop a tire off the back of that zone, but look at there. A 93.7 on the board for Mr. Brett Wolford. So that's going to do it for our first group of qualifying. There it is on the full board there. Alan Hines leading with that, I don't even know, that insane run that he put down, the 98.8. But then Nico Stalea as well with his 97.5 on the board. And Abdulrahman Al-Shetwi, that was the very first run of the day, the 94.3 on the board for your current top 3. What do you think, Tanner? Will we see anything higher than a 98.8?
I mean, this championship is so close, and we still have all of the top contenders to go through. We have T-Con Pileski, we have Zach O'Sullivan, we have Vitali. There's literally, it's still anyone's game, and any one of those drivers at the very top level right now are very capable of maybe even beating that 98.8.
Yeah, absolutely. It is quite a tough course, as we saw there. We did see quite a bit of 90s. There's 6 of them up on the board just in our first 10 drivers, but not every run was a 90. Those second runs that we saw, a lot of people dropping some wheels throughout the course, especially in that large outside zone 5, driving the course and setting it up. We'll say it's very easy to do so. It is quite tricky, and it's also tricky to stay in your angle and just really lock into your angle in the outside zone 5. You are kind of cooking through that course, and the car wants to dig in and find that grip, and you gotta just kind of guide it with your front and almost hope for the best sometimes.
Exactly, and even seeing, when we're watching these runs, especially on these longer outer zones, we can see the slight corrections. And if you know our judges, they see those corrections, that's automatic. You're getting docked. I know them. They're
hitting their macros.
Exactly. So they're gonna see those slight corrections. You got to be so on it this entire run, and the run lasts for so long that I know to a driver, you're like, oh, that was quick, it's over with, but it's a long run to put together when you look at the rest of the tracks that we've done this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So Group 2 getting their practice runs in. I believe they've gotten the last call from those judges. Hope whoever that was is okay. As we bring Balrude Purewal will start things out for us in our second group of qualifying, and then it'll be Vladislav Yakulovic, Daniel Mora, Ernestas Yakulovis, Ethan Pikachu, Quinn Ebanks, Tikon Pileski, Victor Alves, Olivier Blias, and Robert Kivsinski all coming up next. And here's Paul Rupe pulling up to the line, returning back in that S13. We wait on those judges to send them off. For Group 2. And the lights are on. Here we go. Paul Rupe, Pure Wall. Initiating in with some speed, picking up throttle and a little bobble on his angle though, but he keeps things going in outside zone 1. Failing to drop a tire, keeping it on course in outside zone 2 as well, working up the hill a little bit far track right as he transitions up into outside zone 3. Filling it all the way around and 4 down in the little valley and up into outside zone 5. That large outside zone. Staying in it and transitioning down the hill for 6. Filling 7. Around 8. And there we go across that finish line.
Yeah, solid start there for Pure Wall. Just that little mistake in outer zone 1. And after that, cleaned it up quite nicely. And a 93.5. For run number 1. So now we move over to Vladislav Yakulovich, sitting at the line in the BMW, ready to see how he can stand against that 93.5 that Balrupe put in. That's a solid first run for group number 2. Let's see what Vladislav has in store. Sends it in, keeping it pretty close to that track edge all the way through outer zone 1. Makes the transition work into outer zone 2, keeping it right along that yellow line. Now to come up towards outer zone 3. And looking good so far, just slightly off the track edge, but keeping a good line and angle as he comes into outer zone 5. And very nicely done through outer zone 5. Not a single bobble, but now through the quick final hairpin. 4 outer zones to complete, and makes it through and finishes out the run.
Yeah, that's a strong run for Vladislav there. His first run of the day, 92 on the board. Daniel Mora now at the line, ready to go. Through the chicane. Daniel Mora initiating in. Good speed, picking up throttle. Could be a little bit deeper in that outside zone 1, but fills it all the way around. Staying in outside zone 2 now, working his way up the hill. Good in the middle of the track as he transitions into outside zone 3 again. Could just be a little bit deeper, but I kind of get it here for the first run. Just kind of fill those zones, get a solid score on the board as he works his way through outside zone 5 now. Good smooth transition into 6, picking up throttle into 7. Good on the inside clip as well, and there he goes across that finish line.
Daniel Mora putting that little E30 to work. It's probably, I think, one of the tiniest cars on the grid nowadays, as he ends up with an 89.3. So not a bad starting score just to feel out that run number 1. As we move over to Ernestus Yakulibis, sitting on the line of that A90 Supra, ready to go for run number 1. Down the straight and initiating in. Ernestus looking good off the initiation. Starts to drive his way out to that track edge through outer zone 1. Makes the transition into outer zone 2. Holding it nicely on the track edge of outer zone 2. Up the hill now towards outer zone 3. Putting it on that yellow line down the hill for the Manji section. Little bit of lag on my end, but he makes it work through outer zone 5 beautifully. Now for a few more outer zones to go. Kicks up some dirt there out of the second to last outer zone, but finishes out the run strong.
Yeah, not a bad run for Ernestus there. So we watch him drive away. Look at the skid marks there in outside zone 5. What in the world? They are identical as we watch these runs continue on. Ethan Pikachu at the line, ready to go for his first run. And through that chicane. Very cool livery on this Z as he initiates in, picking up throttle nice and smooth. Starts to add that angle as that radius gets tighter and tighter through that turn 1 and into turn 2 and outside zone 2. Now working his way up the hill. Good transition and good line. Working his way into outside zone 3 now and filling it all the way around down into the little valley there. Good transition into 5 and picking up throttle quickly and staying in that zone. Just little micro bobbles there in outside zone 5, but picking up throttle. Can he get it back down to the inside clip and finishing out the run? Ethan.
Yeah, Ethan on a very solid run there through outer zone 5. I think those bobbles were coming. He was really getting on the left foot brake a couple times, but ends up with a 93.3 on the board as we move over to Kawane Ebanks in the R35, sitting at the line, ready to go for run number 1. Down the straight, initiates in, looks good off the initiation, picks up throttle early, puts it right to the track edge. He clears outer zone 1, makes his way towards outer zone 2, transitions nicely, again, right along that yellow line, looking good up the hill. Now to outer zone 3, drives off the line just a little bit, but not by much. He comes down the valley through the Manji section, now into outer zone 5. He wants to hold that R35 through it. He had just the smallest correction through it. He comes to the second last outer zone through the inside clip and finishes out the run.
Yeah, pretty solid run there for Kawane. Little things here and there. And an 89.3 on the board. Tikon Pileski now coming to the line. Having a good run at the championship this season as well. And lights are on. Tikon initiating in, picking up throttle quickly as soon as he gets into the zone. Works his way around that first turn. It's a smooth transition into outside zone 5. Working to pick up that speed into outside zone 3. On a pretty solid run so far down into the valley for outside zone 4. Up and outside zone 5. Can he keep it on that course? He does. Filling outside zone 5. Transitioning down into 6. Keeps his speed up. Picks up throttle around that inside clip. Tikon beat boot Pileski across that finish line.
That was only run number 1 for Tikon Pileski, a 97.3. The man in second right now in the championship, not far behind Alan Hines. What a start to the day as we move over to Victor Alves. Victor gets the light and off he goes for run number 1 of qualifying, initiating in. Looking good off the initiation, carrying lots of speed into outer zone 1. Not as quite as deep into outer zone 1 as we'd like to see him, but still filling the zone nonetheless. He makes the transition for outer zone 2, puts it right to the track edge. And now to head up the hill towards outer zone 3. Filling outer zone 3. Looking good so far. Down the Manji section into outer zone 5. Holding it nicely through outer zone 5. Not dropping a tire. No major corrections. He comes through outer zone 6, then 7, maybe leaving 7 early to grab that inside clip and pushes all the way out to outer zone 8 and finishes out the run.
Yeah, wow, Victor Alves. It's Victor Beck. Look at there, 90 on the board for Victor Alves. Good to see him back in form. Olivier Blias through the chicane for his first run. And initiating in, picking up throttle along that track edge. Check this out. Oh no, he does drop off the back of it just a little bit. Has to check up quite a bit, and he's going to do it again for outside zone 2. Works his way up the hill now. Might as well keep it going, put some points on the board. Olivier down into that outside zone. 4 into 5 now. Keep it together. He does. Filling outside zone. 5 into 6 now. On that inside clip. And across that finish line. So a couple of tire drops here and there for Olivier. Put some points on the board.
Yeah, made the mistakes, but you know what? Stayed committed and still ends up with a 75 as we move to our final driver here of Group 2, Robert Kavinsky, at the line in the A90 Supra. Before we go back around to the top for Balrupe Purewall. Lights go on and off he goes. Initiates in. Gets on throttle, puts it right to the track edge. Looking good so far for Robert. As he leaves outer zone 1 towards outer zone 2, maybe dropping just a bit of tire, but keeping it on that track edge through outer zone 2, makes the transition up towards outer zone 3. Robert here really throwing it down in this A90 as he comes through the Manji section into outer zone 5. Looking good through outer zone 5 as well. Makes the final transition. Only a few more zones to go. And finishes out the run nice and clean.
Yeah, really good run there for Robert. 96 on the board. That'll slide him on into 4th position. Back around Balrupe Purewall. Currently sitting 7th with his 93.5. Starting Group 2 off with a banger. Here's run number 2. Any better than 93.5 with this. Picking up throttle. Working his way around outside zone 1. Staying along that track edge. Gonna transition into 2. Choosing to just stay on that throttle and work his way up the hill now. Right smack dab in the middle of the track. Picking up outside zone 3. Staying along that track edge once more. Down into 4. And drops a little bit of tire for 4. Working his way through 5 now. And staying on course and staying on that track edge. Down into 6. Into 7 now. Right down to the inside clip. And fill in that last and final outside zone. Is it enough?
I think it is. That he just had that small little tire drop, and there it is, a 95 on the board for Balrupe Purewall's second run. What a good improvement. What a flyer of a run that was, too. Now, at the line, sitting on a 92, Vladislav Yakulovich, ready to go and see how run number 2 is going to work out. Just like the last group, we saw them kind of start out shaky, but then run number 2, they just go for it. And so far, Vladislav through outer zone 1 looking good as he makes his way through outer zone 2, keeping it right on that track edge, looking to make that transition happen for outer zone 3. Does so beautifully, leaves the track edge just a little bit, but holds a nice line for the Manji section as he comes into outer zone 5. Dropping just a little bit of tire, but holding a nice angle through it as he comes through into the final few outer zones, flying through them and looking good doing it. Vladislav Yakulovich finishes out qualifying.
Yeah, will that be enough to better the 92 that he already has on the board? Another strong run from him either way, and it is a 94.5 on the board. That'll move him on up to 6th position, just ahead of Abdul Rahman Al Shedwi. Daniel Mora, currently sitting on his 89.3, is now off for his second run here. Down the straight and initiating in. Picking up that throttle and staying on that track edge just a little bit better this time. Checking up a little bit before that first transition into outside zone 2, but right along that track edge and transitioning up the hill now, filling outside zone 3. Nicely done from Daniel Mora, filling 4 as well. Good transition into 5, a little shallow, works his way to that outside. I thought he was going to fall off the back of it, but he keeps things going into 6 and 7. Now down to that inside clip and finishing out his second run. So definitely, I think a fair bit better than the 89.3.
Oh, I think so as well. A lot more commitment on that run, and Daniel Mora ends up with a 90.2 for his second run of qualifying. So definitely a better job there from Daniel Mora, moving him up a little further in the qualifying order. As at the line now, Ernestus Yakulubis sitting on that 92.3. Let's see what Anestis lays down here for run number 2. The lights go on and off he goes. Initiating in, very quick initiation, throwing lots of speed and angle at it, gets back on throttle, keeps it on the lock, stops through outer zone 1. And
I think we lost a Tanner, but Ernestes continues on, filling outside zone 3. Like he yanked the cord from his microphone as Ernestes continues on. Oh no, we sort of hearing there. Ernestes, oh my goodness gracious, the transition into the last and final turn there and across that finish line. Well,
all right, are we back?
Oh, there you are. You okay?
Hey.
Did you fall backwards in your chair?
Yeah, well, it was that exciting of a run, that is for sure. No, a leg spike hit me, and I jumped to like 900 ping.
How rude of that leg spike. Did we lose you again?
Nope, still here. You want me to take over for this one?
Go ahead, dude.
All right, well, Ethan Pikachu now will try and get a redemption arc going. Sitting on a 93.3 for Ethan as he sends it into outer zone 1. Looking good through outer zone 1. Not as deep onto that white yellow line, but holding a nice good line and angle. Now the transition to outer zone 2 makes it work through outer zone 2 along that track edge. Transitions early up the hill to get it nice on to outer zone 3, right along that track edge all the way through, down through the Manji section, now into that outer zone 5. The fabled outer zone 5 holds a nice line with no adjustments through it. Now into the final few outer zones, into the inside clip, pushing all the way out for the final outer zone and finishing off a run that's actually pretty nice for Ethan.
Yeah, it sure was. It looked like he maybe even picked up a wheel there in that last and final turn when he picked up throttle on 91.8 on the board. And Kawain Ebanks back at the line for run number 2. 89.3 currently on the board for Kawain. Currently sitting 15th. Again, 3 drivers will not make it into battles today. So we do still have our last 16 qualifying battles just after this as Kawain works his way through that first turn into turn 2 and outside zone 2 along that track edge, working his way up the hill now, picking up speed as he should before transitioning into outside zone 3 and filling it all the way. A transition down the hill as well into outside zone 5 and staying on track. Almost scared to say anything through that large outside zone as he works his way around that inside clip. Great run from Kawain Ebanks.
Wayne really throwing it down there for run number 2, wanting to improve that 89.3, and well, I'm sure that run will. A 92.2 for the final run on the board for Kawain Ebanks. That'll probably more than likely see him in competition later today, as now we're back around to the second place in the championship. T-Con Pileski sitting on a 97.3. Alan Hines already went 98.8. Can T-Con answer that score? Initiating in, looking great off the initiation, tons of speed, tons of angle, right to the yellow line of outer zone 1. Makes his way through outer zone 1. Now the transition to outer zone 2. Puts it right on that yellow line. Looking good so far. Into outer zone 3. Quick transition right along the yellow line once again. Maybe driving off it just a slight little bit, but right along the out track edge for outer zone 4. Now into 5. Holding it beautifully through outer zone 5. No adjustments needed through outer zone 6 and 7. Through that inside clip. Oh, T-Con throwing it down.
Yeah, absolutely locked in. Is it enough to beat the 97.3? It is a 98 on the board for T-Con Pileski, right behind Alan Hines with his 98.8. So our current championship leader, Alan Hines, sitting first, and T-Con Pileski, who is currently second, sitting second. Victor Alves back at the line for his second run, currently sitting on the 90. And he keep things going, initiating in. Holy smokes. throwing that car to angle quickly and picking up throttle. Could have been a little bit deeper for outside zone 1. Hangs on to it a little long before transitioning into outside zone 2. And now up the hill. Good line. Lots of angle for 3 and kind of drives off that track edge just a little bit. Down into 4 and up into 5 now. Hammering down, working his way through that long outside zone. And down into 6 now. 7, filling it all the way to that edge. Ooh, kind of bobbles on the angle, ends up on the outside. Drops the tire before crossing that finish line.
Yeah, a lot of commitment for the second run from Victor. Improved in some spots, but a little shaky in others. So I think that might hurt his score just a little bit, and it did, but not a lot. 88.3 on the board for run number 1, or run number 2, sorry. He's going to keep that 90 from earlier. But in the danger zone, this man here, Olivier, sitting on a 75, wanting to improve. Initiates in, had some struggles last run through outer zone 1. This time, not happening. Looking good through outer zone 1. Makes the transition into outer zone 2. And nice and clean through outer zone 2. Maybe not quite to the track edge, but I'd be playing it a little safe as well as he drops some tire going into outer zone 3. Hopefully that doesn't set him up for the rest of the run to make some more mistakes. Looking clean through outer zone 5 now. Could have been again deeper, but just looking to improve that score as he sends it through outer zone 6 and 7, and then all the way through to 8 and finishes out the run.
Yeah, you jinxed it with that track edge comment as you dropped the tire right after, but he does better the score in 83 on the board. We'll have to wait and see if that is going to be enough. Send him on into battles. Didn't change his current position. Still sitting 19th. Robert off for his second run, sitting on a 96. And currently 4th as he works his way around outside zone 1. Transitions into 2 now, all the way out there to that track edge, and there he goes, dropping a tire and transitioning up the hill into outside zone 3 as he'll keep this run alive. Down into outside zone 4 and up into this massive outside zone 5. Lots of speed through it. One last transition down into 6 and picking up throttle right before that 7 around that inside clip and finishing out run number 2.
Well, an 88.5 for Robert there for run number 2, and that finishes things up for Group 2 of qualifying. And wow, I think we're still in a treat for what's left to come today.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, a total of 47 drivers all competing today, so just 3 of those drivers won't be qualifying, as we still have our last 16 qualifying battles again right after this. So it's that 29 through 44 will get placed into that last 16 qualifying battles, while the top 28 are locked into that top 32, and we'll watch those bottom 16 battle it out for the last 4 positions in that top 32, again right after our traditional qualifying. But again, Group 3 now loading in. It's going to be Nick Hang, Luciano Canero, Alexander Yegard, Daryl Diaz, Kevin Stump, Russell Jones, Mustafa Amane, Cameron Mustard, Vitaly Assav, and Kazuki Fukushi, all up next in Group 3. Again, the question remains, can Alan Hines hang on to that 98.8?
I mean, we got that rookie Vitaly Azaev, who's just been thrown out every time he comes to battle, every time he comes to qualifying. Maybe we see a shocker run, throws Alan off.
It definitely could. I could see Vitaly doing it. I could also see Daniel Andreev down in Group 4 also doing it. Zach O'Sullivan there in that Group 4. But I think any one of these drivers can just have a breakout run and, you know, really nail it down. We'll have to see. So hearing the last call from those judges for those drivers to get their last practice runs in before we bring Mr. Mr. Nick Hang to the line for his first run in Group 3. It's been a fun round of qualifying so far. Lots of 90s already on the board. And those crazy runs from both Alan Hines and Ticon Pileski, our current championship points leaders. And then Nico again, 97.5 from the young gun. Here comes Nick Hang. One of the coolest cars on the grid this season. And he is ready to go. Being told to watch those lights. There they go. Nick Hang is off to start things out for group number 3. And initiating in, picking up that throttle and riding that track edge for outside zone 1 all the way around. Picking up that speed before transitioning into outside zone 2. Good angle on it. I would say good line up the hill, but a little bit far track right as he fills outside zone 3 now at the top of the hill, down into the little valley for 4. Now into 5 and working his way around it and staying on that track edge. I don't think he dropped a tire. Last and final transition, filling 6, picking up 7 around that inside clip. There he goes for his first run.
Oh, Nick Hang doing what he does best, hanging it all out there, even on the first run. We wait for his final scores to come in. Luciano Canero at the line, eager and willing to get going, but we got to wait. 2 judges got to put in their score. One gets a score in, 1 more to go. There it is, a 93.5 for Nick Hang's first run. A great way to start out group number 3 as we move over to Luciano Canero. Waiting patiently for the first run of qualifying. The lights go on and off. He can finally go down the straight. Initiates in. Looks good off the initiation. Nice angle and speed through outer zone 1, putting it right near that yellow line. As he leaves outer zone 1, drives towards outer zone 2. Looking good through outer zone 2, right on that yellow line. Makes the drive up the hill to outer zone 3. Comes off of outer zone 3 just a little bit, but nothing too crazy. Luciano goes through the Manji section into outer zone 5 and looks super clean through outer zone 5. Only a few more outer zones to go and 1 inside clip that he grabs beautifully. And a very solid run for Luciano here.
Yeah, nice and settled in, Luciano. Wait on those scores to come through. And a 91.7 on the board. That'll put him into a 14th position after his first round of qualifying. Alexander Yegard now at the line, ready to go for his first run. And initiating in that E92, throwing that car to angle. Took me by surprise there as he works around outside zone 1 now. Transitioning into 2. Nice and dialed in so far is Alexander Yeager, transitioning up into outside zone 3. Teeny tiny little correction in that angle. And now down into 4. Right along that track edge as he heads into outside zone 5 and stays in it all the way around it. Good transition for 6, filling 7 as well around that inside clip and finishing out a solid first run.
Yeah, Alexander there really showing out for the first run. Wanting to hopefully get a little higher than Nick Hang, and he does, a 93.8. So very good job indeed there from Alexander Yagard. As next up is Kevin Stump. Another one of the drivers now showing up in a Mustang. Mustang takeover has happened. As the lights go on and off they go. Kevin heads down the straight, initiates in. Looks good off the initiation, right to the track edge. Tries to get back on throttle, holds it there through outer zone 1. Makes the transition happen now into outer zone 2. Not as deep into outer zone 2 as we've seen, but still a very good line with good angle through outer zone 3. Holding it nicely through outer zone 3, down into the Monchi section to outer zone 5. Holding a nice line, holding nice angle through outer zone 5. Kevin Stump here really throwing it into outer zone 7. Lost some speed there, but corrects it and makes it through to the end.
Yeah, not bad from Kevin Stump. Turning back in that Mustang, and an 86.7 on the board for Kevin Stump. That'll put him in at 21st position, as Russell Jones is now ready to go. Back in his A90 Supra as he waits for those lights. And Russell Jones off. Initiating in and picking up that throttle, but kind of jumping out of the zone just a little bit as he tries to work that car back to the track edge for outside zone 1. Now filling outside zone 2, heading up the hill and transitioning for outside zone 3. Good line through it and down through 4, up into 5 now, picking up that throttle. And working his way through that huge outside zone, transitioning one more time, picking up 6. Now across 7, around that inside clip as well, and good run from Russell Jones.
Now Russell Jones coming in with a 88 on the board for run number 1. We have Mustafa Amine coming to the line. There he is, Mustafa making his way to the line, ready to go for run number 1. Patiently waits for those lights to turn on, and there they go. Get run number 1 underway. Initiates in. Looks good off the initiation. Lots of speed into outer zone 1. Right on those lock stops, drives off of the edge just a little bit, but makes his way back out there to the end of outer zone 1. Along the track edge for outer zone 2 now. Makes transition up the hill, right along that track edge for outer zone 3. Drives off just a little bit, but then back on it as he goes through the mountain section. Track edge to outer zone 5. Holding it nicely through outer zone 5. No tire drops through 5. Only a few more outer zones to go. One inside clip and made it look good through it. Mustafa Amine finishing out the run.
Yeah, another good run in this group. We wait on those scores to come through. And look at there, a 94.3. That'll put him into 8th position here in Group 3. So we have 5 total groups today. Just 2 more groups after Group 3. Cameron Mustard off for his first run. And initiating in. Cameron having a little bit of a breakout round last round. As he works his way through outside zone 1. Good transition into outside zone 2. As he works his way up the hill now. And R32. Filling outside zone 3 at the top of the hill, and now down into the small little valley and up into outside zone 5, staying on throttle and working his way through that big outside zone, picking up 6, now 7 around that inside clip. So he continues on and across that finish line, Cameron Mustard.
Like you said, Cameron having that breakout run from the last round, and I think that's carrying over into this round. A 94.5 on the board. Very solid first run. Vitaly Azayev, third in the championship, current rookie of the year, at the line, ready to go for run number 1 of qualifying. The lights go on, off he goes. Initiates in, looking great off the initiation, tons of speed, but right to that track edge as he gets back on throttle and drives it all the way through outer zone 1, transitioning to outer zone 2. Again, along that track edge, kicking up just the tiniest bit of dirt before making that transition up the hill towards outer zone 3. Nicely along the track edge there for outer zone 3 as he comes through outer zone 5 now, the long outer zone 5 down towards outer zone 6. Looking good so far through 6, 7, and finishing out the run strong.
Strong indeed. One of our picks to maybe beat the 98.8, and he's already coming close. A 98 on the board for Vitaly. That's going to tie him with Tikhon Pileski. So we'll have to wait and see what his second run is going to look like. Kazuki Fukushi to follow up the 98. Returning back in the Corolla. Lights are on. Kazuki is off. Goes for a big initiation here in the Corolla, and quite the angle bobble there as he picks up throttle for outside zone 1, but he continues on, filling outside zone 2 now, working his way up the hill, trying to find some grip in that car. As he transitions into outside zone 3, the top of the hill looking good now, down in outside zone 4, now 5, and dropping a little bit of tire there as he works his way through it, keeping the run alive, picking up throttle, and another big angle correction there in that last and final turn, but there he goes across that finish line with a little bit of points on the board.
Yeah, definitely some big mistakes there from Fukushi, dropping 2 tires out of outer zone 5 and with some angle corrections throughout most of the run. But, you know, hey, get those first run nerves out of the way. Still got another run to make up for it. Back up to the top, sitting on a 93.5, Nick Hang at the line. The lights go on, off he goes. Initiating in for Nick Hang, looking good so far off that initiation. Not as deep into outer zone 1 as he'd probably like to be, but nice and consistent as he goes through outer zone 2. Now right along that track edge, drives off just a little bit early to make that transition up to outer zone 3. Again, just holding a nice line through here, not going too crazy to those track edges, but keeping it right in touching distance as he comes through outer zone 5 with a couple bobbles through outer zone 5. Now into 6 and 7, down through that inside clip, pushing all the way out to the outer zone 8 and crossing that line.
Yeah, another solid run there, but falling just a little shy, 92.7, but still that 93.5 is a strong score for Nick Hang, currently sitting 14th. Here's Luciano Canero with a 91.7 already on the board and going for his second run here as he picks up throttle on outside zone 1, trying to find that track edge and transitioning into 2 now. A solid line, decent angle as well as he transitions up the hill now, fills outside zone 3, down into 4, back up into 5, picking up throttle quickly and working his way through outside zone 5, now down into 6. Last transition. Again, keeping it smooth is Luciano and across that finish line.
Yeah, very smooth. Smooth and steady for Luciano. Ends up with a 93.8, bettering his 91.7, so I'm sure you'll be happy about that one. Alexander Jaeger now at the line, 93.8 for his first run. Let's see what he can lay down here for run number 2. Initiating in, looking good off the initiation, carrying lots of speed, getting back on throttle, not quite to that track edge, but filling the zone nonetheless. He makes the transition over towards outer zone 2, this time right along the track edge for all of outer zone 2, transitions up the hill towards outer zone 3, pushing through all the way through outer zone 3, down the hill through the Manji section, now to that outer zone 5. Trying to hold that angle all the way through it, and he does, making his way through outer zone 6 and 7, diving to that inside clip. Alexander Yegard looking like a solid run.
Yeah, that was pretty dialed in there from Alexander Yeager. 95.5 on the board. That'll put him up into 7th position. Here's Kevin Stump back around for his second run, coming off the 86.7. Any better here for run number 2. Plants the tires on that track edge, but kind of leaves it a little bit there in outside zone 1. See, transitions now into outside zone 2, starting to work his way up the hill now, picking up some speed and transitioning in outside zone 3, but does drop some tire there. The beginning portion of outside zone 3, but he continues on now into outside zone 5 and staying on the track there, locked into that yellow line. Good transition for 6, picking up throttle for 7. And there he goes, across that finish line. Not a bad run from Kevin Stump.
Yeah, Kevin wanting to improve that 86.7, but just falls shy. A 77.7 for run number 2. Now we move around to Russell Jones, sitting on an 88, wanting to improve. The lights go on. Let's see what Russell Jones can do for the second half of qualifying. Initiates in, looks good off the initiation, lots of speed, lots of angle, drives off the track edge just a little bit, but still fills outer zone 1. Through outer zone 2, right along that track edge now, as he makes that drive up towards outer zone 3, transitions into outer zone 3. Looks good through outer zone 3. Now through the Manji section into that outer zone 5. Will we see any big corrections through outer zone 5? No, not any big ones. Through outer zone 6 into 7 now, driving towards that inside clip. One more to go. Russell Jones finishes out qualifying.
Yeah, nicely done from Russell Jones, trying to better the 88, and he definitely does so with a 93 now on the board. That'll put him into 17th position. Mustafa Amine now coming down to the line for his second run here in group number 3. Right after this group, we'll take a small break and load in our last final 2 groups, but before that, here's Mustafa. Run number 2, trying to better the 94.3. Kind of lays into the left foot brake just a little bit there in the beginning portion of that outside zone 1, transitioning nicely into outside zone 2 now and picking up some speed, working up the hill. Good transition for outside zone 3. Plants that tire right along that yellow line and down into 4. Up into 5 now. Good transition as he works his way to that track edge and stays on it. Last and final transition, nice and snappy, filling outside zone 7 around the inside clip. And there he goes, solid run for Mustafa.
And Mustafa Amine already on that 94.3 and just really going for it in run number 2. And ends up with a 95.7 for run number 2. So a very good score indeed. Now at the line, Cameron Mustard sitting on a 94.5 from run number 1. As he gets the lights to head off for his run, initiating in, looking good off the initiation, throwing it right to angle, right to the track edge of outer zone 1. Makes the transition into outer zone 2, putting it right on the track edge once more. Cameron Mustard throwing that R32 towards outer zone 3 now. Makes his way around it nice and clean through the Manji section into the outer zone 5 with little to no correction through outer zone 5 as well. Now into outer zone 6. Get it slowed down after outer zone 7 to grab that inside clip, push out to the exit for outer zone 8, and finish out the run strong. What a good run from Cameron.
Yeah, Cameron Mustard looking more and more dialed in as we work our way through the season. Currently sitting on that 94.5. Is that run enough to better it? Currently sitting 10th, and my goodness, it is 97 on the board now. Sitting 5th position. Vitali off for his second run, currently sitting on that 98 and tied with Tikhon Pileski. This will be that tiebreaker run as he works his way through that first outside zone into outside zone 2 now, working his way up the hill. Good line. He transitions for outside zone 3 and plants the wheel along that yellow line, working his way down the hill now. Good for 4 and good into 5. Can he keep it on the course for outside zone 5? He certainly does. Last and final transition right along the track edge, picking up that throttle quickly. And here he goes across that finish line.
Wow. What a run. Is it enough? Oh, he matches. No way. 98.8 on the board, matching Alan Heinz's top score. Wow. As we come to the last driver of Group 3, Kazuki Fukushi sitting on that 77.3, wanting to improve and finish out Group 3 strong, especially after a 98.8 performance from the Rookie of the Year, initiating in Kazuki Fukushi right through Outer Zone 1, looking a lot more solid this time through Outer Zone 1, as he makes transition into Outer Zone 2, keeping it along that track edge, and now up the hill towards Outer Zone 3. Gets through Outer Zone 3 nice and clean. Down the hill now for the Manji section, then around Outer Zone 5, dropping 2 tire, maybe just 1. As he makes the transition one last time. The final few outer zones, the last inside clip, finishes out the wrong way stronger, and I bet that'll beat that 77.
Yeah, let's see if it'll be enough to put him on up into the 80s. But officially, yeah, that does put Vitaly in that number 1 position. So Kazuki definitely betters it with the 87. But again, back to Vitaly Asov, he does put down that 98.8. And because his other score was also a 98, which was above Alan Hines' lower run, that does put Vitaly on top in that number 1 position. So your new top 3 is Vitaly Asov, Alan Hines, and Tikhon Pileski, before we head to a small break and load in our final 2 groups, Group 4 and Group 5. So again, stay with us. We'll hear from our wonderful partners, and we'll be right back with some more qualifying here at Luddenham Raceway. And we are back again with more qualifying here, round 5, Luddenham Raceway. And what a qualifying it's been so far. We've got two 98.8s on the board, number 1 and number 2 from Vitalius Hobb and Alan Hines. And then Tikon Pileski also with his 98. Nico Steleo with a 97.5. Cameron Muster with a 97. Robert Kivstinski with a 96. Ernestas Yakulibis with a 95.8. And Mustafa Amane also with a 95.7 to round out our current top 8. Here is the full list of the top qualifiers as our group 4 gets in their last little bit of practice runs before we send them off for their qualifying runs. Again, just 2 more groups to go, group 4 and group 5, before we head on into our last 16 qualifying battles. So our next group, Lazam Isao, Simon Sandman, Martinez Ostreka, Braden Swan, Masashi Yoshida, Artem Chokov, Jordan El Nasser, and Daniel Andreev, all here in group number 4. A last call from those judges. I believe Lazam Isao is now coming to the line. There he is in his A90 Supra. He's going to send it for run number 1 of group number 4. And the lights are on and he is off. Sam initiating in that Supra. Staying along that track edge nicely so far through outside zone 1. Zam locked in here for run number 1 so far through outside zone 2. Nice line up the hill. Good transition for outside zone 3 as he settles in along that yellow line. Good transition down. Just a small little bit of lag there as he is now in outside zone 5, cooking along that track edge. And good transition for 6. Now filling 7, picking up that throttle and across the finish line.
A very, very solid run and start to group number 4. A 95.7 for the first run for Lazam. That's got to feel pretty good as we move over to our second person in line for qualifying. Simon Sandman sitting at the line, ready to go for run number 1. Lights go on and off we go for Simon Sandman's run. Initiating in, looking good off the initiation. Good line and angle right to that track edge there through outer zone 1. He leaves outer zone 1, drives towards outer zone 2. Transitions nicely right to the track edge yet again. Comes up the hill now towards outer zone 3. Looking good through outer zone 3. Through the Manji section he comes. And over towards outer zone 5, holding good speed. A good line and good angle. He leaves it and comes through the final few outer zones. Just barely grabbing that inside clip, but then pushing all the way out for the final outer zone. A good first run here for Simon Sandman.
Yeah, solid score as well into the 90s, 92.5 for Simon Sandman. That'll put him on into 19th until we know that second score. So Martinez Ostreka still with the broken sound here. He picks up that throttle and has quite the angle bobble there in outside zone 1, but works his way through it. Now in outside zone 2. Working his way up the hill now. Solid transition. Filling outside zone 3. And now down the hill, quietest run ever. See, he works his way through outside zone 5. No tires or anything. We'll see if we can try and get that fixed once more, as he does drop a little bit of tire there in outside zone 6. Fills 7, fills 8 as well. And there he goes. Finishing his first run silently.
Well, silently on your end, we'll have to get your audio fixed for his car there. So, Martinez Ostreka with an 84 on the board. So there's another run to improve that as we move over to our next driver, Braden Swan. Braden pulls up to the line in that 370Z, ready to go for his first run of qualifying. Lights go on and off he goes through the chicane, down the straight. Initiating in. Looks good off the initiation. Nice and quick through outer zone 1, right to that track edge as he holds it all the way around. Transitioning towards outer zone 2. Putting it right on the edge there. Thought he was going to drop a tire, but he didn't as he makes the transition over towards outer zone 3. Drives off of outer zone 3 just a little bit, but then comes down through the Manji section to make it towards outer zone 5. Puts it deep into outer zone 5, holding a nice line, carrying tons of speed here as he comes through outer zone 6 and 7, through that inside clip, through outside zone 8, and off to the finish.
Yeah, a solid run from Braden Swan as well. It's missing sound for his as well. Aceto doing Aceto things as Zach O'Sullivan now coming to the line and does fortunately have sound with the car. And Zach through the chicane for run number 1. Throwing his E36 into outside zone 1 and riding that track edge nicely through that large first outer zone. Now in outer zone number 2 and working his way up the hill. Good line before transitioning into outside zone 3 right along that track edge once more. Filling outside zone 3 at the top of the hill. Now 4. Good angle for 4 as well before transitioning into 5 and working his way through that big outside zone 5. Filling 6, now 7 around the inside clip. Out to the last and final outside zone and across the finish line.
Zach O'Sullivan swinging for run number 1. 97.7 on the board. Can he improve that in run number 2? We'll find out very shortly. Sitting at the line, Masashi Yoshida, ready to go in the wagon. The lights go on and Masashi's run is underway. Initiating in, looking good off the initiation, carrying lots of speed into outer zone 1. Doesn't quite make it to the track edge, but fills out outer zone 1 clean. As he comes into outer zone 2, dropping a tire through outer zone 2, going a little bit past that track edge, up towards outer zone 3 now, drives to outer zone 3, nice and clean, down to the Manji section into outer zone 5. Holds a nice line through outer zone 5 with no corrections into outer zone 6 and 7, nice and clean, grabs that inside clip and finishes out the run strong.
Yeah, good run from Sashi. 91.2 on the board as well, so up into the 90s. Artem Chokov now at the line, ready to go for his first run. We now have a top 28 cutoff. Again, that top 28 gets locked into the top 32, and it is currently an 87.2. So let's see what Artem can do. Solid through outside zone number 1 so far, into outside zone 2, staying along that track edge and transitioning up the hill now for outside zone 3. And look at there, just planted onto that yellow line and down into 4 now. Good transition up into 5, using a little bit of left foot brake to get out to that track edge, and he certainly does so. Last and final transition, nice and snappy, down to the inside clip, out to the last and final outside zone. Artem Chokov.
Yeah, Artem, wow, really throwing it down there for run number 1. That was very clean. And a 96.7 on the board for run number 1 for Artem. Wow, I can't wait to see run number 2. Next at the line, Jordan El Nasser. The lights go on and off he goes. Jordan initiates into outer zone 1, looking good through outer zone 1. A mild correction there at the entrance to 1, but holds it through the outer zone. Transitions now to outer zone 2. Looking good through outer zone 2 as well. Driving off it just a little bit early, but sets himself up for outer zone 3 to get through it. So now he comes into the Manji section, into outer zone 5. Could be a bit deeper into outer zone 5, but holds it nicely through it as he comes through outer zone 6 and 7. Down towards that inside clip, pushes all the way out to outer zone 8 and finishes out the run.
Not too bad from Jordan, and an 86 on the board for El Nasser. Daniel Andreev at the line, our previous round winner. See what he's got for his first run of qualifying here for round number 5. Initiating in with a bunch of angle, picking up that throttle and staying along that track edge for outside zone number 1. First transition into outside zone number 2, now working his way up the hill on a good line before transitioning up into outside zone 3, putting the wheel right along that yellow line. Good transition down into 4 as well, snappy into 5, massaging that throttle for outside zone 5, staying in the zone, staying on the track. Last and final transition, picking up 7 around the inside clip. And there he goes, finishing out run number 1, Daniel Andreev.
Wow, Daniel flying through the course and looking very good while doing it. Ends up with a 96.2 for run number 1 as we go back up to the top of the list here for Group 4. And only one more group after this. Lazam back to the start line, 95.7 for run 1. Let's see what run 2 has in store. Lights go off and off goes Lazam through the chicane down the straight. Looks to initiate in. Looks good off the initiation. Nice and clean to the track edge there of outer zone 1. He now leaves, transitions towards outer zone 2. Looking nice and smooth through outer zone 2 as well. He moves up the hill towards outer zone 3. Putting it right on the track edge there for outer zone 3. Down the hill now into outer zone 5. Little tiny correction there through outer zone 5. The smallest correction. But now through outer zone 6 and 7. Through that inside clip all the way out for outer zone 8. And finishing out run number 2 of qualifying.
Yeah, another solid run for Lazam there, trying to better the 95.7, and he does. 96.3 on the board, putting him into 8th position. Simon Sandman now back at the line. As that top 28 cutoff is now a 90. Simon Sandman sitting on the 92.5, so currently safe into today's top 32 as he kind of jumps out of the zone a little bit there. And outside zone 1, transitioning now into outside zone 2. Lots of angle there through outside zone 2 and working his way up the hill now. Good transition, setting himself up for outside zone number 3. Now down into 4. Could have been a little bit deeper, up into 5 now. Staying on throttle, working his way through that zone. And last and final transition, nice and snappy for 6. 7 as well, could have been a little bit deeper, and now out to that last and final outside zone. So a strong run, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to better the 92.5.
Well, sadly not enough. Ends up with an 84 for run number 2 for Simon Sandman. As we move over to Martinez Ostreka, sitting on an 84. So Martinez gets the light to go ahead for run number 2. Let's see if we can throw down a bit of a better run here. A little hesitant going into outer zone 1 off that initiation. Not quite at that track edge, but still filling the zone nonetheless. He comes in outer zone 2. This time getting a bit more comfortable around outer zone 2, putting it on that track edge towards outer zone 3 now. Doesn't drive off it, keeps it nice. There we go. Finding his rhythm is Martinez Ostreka now as he comes into outer zone 5. Holding it nice and solid around outer zone 5 into outer zone 6 and 7. Leaves 7 pretty early to grab that inside clip and pushes out to grab outside zone 8 and finish out the run.
Yeah, he did kind of jump out of that outside zone 7, but he does better the 84 with an 86.7 on the board. I gave you a little background noise there during the run. We'll do the same for Mr. Braden Swan. Braden Swan at the line, ready to go. Currently sitting on the 88.7. Can he put himself up into the 90s and maybe secure a spot into the top 32? Here he goes, initiating in. And that 370Z working his way around that first outside zone all the way out to that track edge. Good transition across it. Filling outside zone 2 all the way out there as well. Good transition up the hill on a good line through outside zone 3 right along that yellow line. It was super deep in outside zone 4 and smoothly done into outside zone 5 as he rides that track edge once more. Good transition across. Could have been a little bit deeper for those two zones, but gets around that inside clip and fills that last and final outside zone.
Braden Swan there, improving his score from that 88.7 up to a 93.8. So a very solid second run, as now sitting on a 97.7. Last year's champion, Zach O'Sullivan, ready to go for run number 2. Lights go on and off he goes. Initiates in, looks good off the initiation into outer zone 1, right along that track edge. How he didn't drop a tire there was quite amazing as he leaves outer zone 1 towards outer zone 2. Again on the track edge all the way through outer zone 2. Now up the hill towards outer zone 3. Doing a great job, maybe just leaving a little bit out of the zone, out of that line of outer zone 3, but still filling the whole zone as now he comes into outer zone 5. No adjustments through outer zone 5. Full throttle as he comes into the final 3 outer zones. Grabs the inside clip. Pushes through to the finish. Can he beat the 98.8?
And falling just a little shy with a 97, so he'll hang on to that 4th position just behind Tikon Pileski. There's a 97.7. Masashi Yoshida back at the line. It's E46. And swinging that big thing into outside zone 1. Filling it all the way around as well. Staying along that track edge. Good transition into outside zone 2 as well. Planting it right along that track edge. Working his way up the hill. Good line. Heading into outside zone 3. And down into 4. Nicely done into 5 as well. Yoshida locked in to run number 2. Last and final transition. Nice and snappy, but he does drop a little bit of tire. Goes wide of the inside clip, but fills that last and final outside zone.
Yeah, Mastery there, just like throwing a Hail Mary at those last 2 outer zones, but makes it work and comes out with an 89.5 for run number 2. Now we move over to Artem Cholkov, sitting on a 96.7. Artem Cholkov ready to go for run number 2. He gets the lights to go down the straight, initiating in. Looking good off the initiation for Artem Cholkov, right to the track edge of outer zone 1. As he leaves outer zone 1, heads towards outer zone 2. Now makes transition along that track edge once more through outer zone 2. Up the hill towards outer zone 3. Doing a nice job around outer zone 3. Now down through the Manji section into outer zone 5. Holding it nicely through outer zone 5 as well. Looking good here for Artem Cholkov's second run. He dives that inside clip, pushes out for the final outer zone, finishes out this run strong.
Yeah, nicely done from Artem Cholkov there. And a 94.2 on the board. So falling just shy of his 96.7. Still a solid second run. Jordan El Nasser ready to go and through the chicane for his second run. Throwing that car in. And staying in outside zone 1. A couple of little micro bobbles there through that first outer zone. Now working his way through outer zone number 2 and now up the hill. Good transition for 3, but does drop some tire right before getting into outside zone 3. Filling 4 now. Working his way through 5. Staying on track there. And a little hesitant in that last and final transition. Doesn't quite fill outside zone number 6. And there he goes across the finish line.
Overall, though, not a bad second run there, and actually improving his score by 0.5 to an 86.5 is Jordan L. Nasser. As we move to our final driver of group number 4, and then to our final group of qualifying after this. Daniel Andrzejewski at the line, sitting on a 96.2. Let's see what Daniel can do here for the last run of group number 5. Throws it into outer zone 1. Tons of angle, tons of speed through outer zone 1 along that track edge. Now into outer zone 2. Looking good through outer zone 2, right to that track edge, all the way up to 3 now to hold it along to outer zone 3. Now down through 4 into 5. Daniel Andrzejewski here on a mission as he's heading through outer zone 5. Now down to 6. Get it slowed down out of after 7 to grab that inside clip and push out through outer zone 8 and finish out group number 5 of qualifying.
Yeah, what a way to end group Group 4. Excuse me. 97.5 on the board. It does move him up into that 5th position. Again, coming off a round win last round at Bahrain. Daniel Andrzejewski, he didn't qualify first, but he certainly took home the victory. So, our current top 8 there on the board. Vitaly Asov still with that 98.8. Alan Hines with his 98.8 as well. Tikhon Pileski also with a 98 as we load in our last and final group here for round 5 qualifying. Group number 5. It'll be Victor Lecheris, Darius Ostraka, Austin Zalewski, Dmitry Mitten, Maxime Tengai, Linus Tornqvist, Stephen Hatcher, Stanislav Tarasov, Ethan Minima, and Daryl Diaz to round out our traditional qualifying here for round number 5 before we head on into our last 16 qualifying battles. Again, the top 28 are locked into the top 32, and then 29 through 44 are slotted into a 16-man bracket where they'll battle it out for the last 4 positions in the top 32. Hearing last call from those judges for those drivers to take their last and final practice runs before we send them off for their real qualifying runs. Again, first up will be Victor Lecheris, and Darius Ostraka, Austin Zalewski, Dmitry Mitten, Maxime Tengai, Linus Torkvis, Stephen Hatcher, Stanislav Tarasov, Ethan Minima, and Daryl Diaz. There's Victor Lecheris now at the line, ready to go. Group number 5, our last and final group of qualifying here for round number 5, Luddenham Raceway. Here is Victor Lecheris initiating in, riding that track edge for outside zone number 1. Recently switching to the FC RX-7 and looking good in it here for run number 1 here in the last and final group. Dialed in outside zone number 3 at the top of the hill, down for outside zone number 4, and a good transition into 5. Locked in. Solid run so far. Last and final transition, picking up that throttle, staying on course maybe as he fills that last and final outside zone and across the finish line.
Across the finish line indeed, and a solid score to start things out for group number 5, a 96.5 for run number 1 for Victor Lacheris there. So a great way to start this out as we move over now to Darius Ostreka. Darius in the E90 BMW initiating in. Looking good through outer zone 1. Making the transition now towards outer zone 2, putting it right to the track edge. Dropping some tire though at outer zone 2 as he transitions up the hill to outer zone 3. Hoping not to get shaken up too much by that tire drop. Now through the Manji section into outer zone 5. And a big bobble there at the beginning of 5, and just a few more throughout all of outer zone 5. Bobbling away as he makes the transition now to outer zone 6 and 7. Grabs that inside clip and finishes out the run after going through outer zone 8.
Yeah, solid first run for Darius Ostreka and an 87 on the board. That top 28 gets higher and higher. 91.2 is now what is required to lock yourself into the top 32 later on today. Here is Austin Zalewski initiating in, picking up throttle and staying along that track edge for outside zone number 1. Now into outside zone number 2, working his way up the hill in the Supra now. Good transition up right along that track edge for outside zone number 3, down across 4. And maybe dropping a tiny little bit of tire in that outside zone number 5. Good smooth transition into 6 around the inside clip and across that finish line. Austin Zalewski.
Austin Zalewski with a very solid run and a 96.7 for Austin. Very good job indeed. Now Dimitri Mitten at the line, ready to go. Group 5 here, kind of coming out swinging. Initiating in, Dimitri Mitten looking good through outer zone 1, carrying lots of speed, but going too deep, dropping a tire at the entrance to 1, but regaining his ground and grabbing the rest of the outer zone. Through outer zone 2, right along that track edge now, up towards outer zone 3, dropping another little bit of tire into the entrance of 3, but quickly recovering and getting back onto the track edge as he moves through the Manji section into outer zone 5. Holding that throttle, keeping it planted, making the transition happen through outer zone 6 and 7, through that inside clip, all the way out to 8. And a very good run here from Dimitri.
Yeah, locked into run number 1 for Dimitri Mitten. Another solid score on the board here in group number 5, and 91 for Dimitri Mitten. Maxime Tingai at the line, ready to go. Lights are on. And through the chicane, another silent car. We'll throw a little music up for Maxime as he works his way through outside zone number 1. Nicely done throughout as well. Nice and smooth from Maxime so far as he now works his way up the hill. Good transition across and all the way out there to that track edge for outside zone number 3. Down for 4, maybe dropping half a tire there for 4 is super close as he works his way through outside zone number 5. Now all the way out there to that track edge, picking up throttle early for 7 around that inside clip and across that finish line. Maxime Tingai.
Maxime doing a great job in that 1 Series BMW and throwing down a 94.8 for run number 1. Next up to the line, we have Linus Tornquist in the Toyota Supra, ready to go for run number 1. The lights go on through the chicane. He comes initiating into outer zone 1. Lots of speed, lots of angle for run number 1, but looking good so far. He makes his way through outer zone 1 towards outer zone 2, filling all of outer zone 2 right to that track edge as he makes his way up the hill towards outer zone 3 now. Not dropping a tire, keeping it on the track edge of outer zone 3. Down through the Manji section towards outer zone 5. Carrying a lot of speed is Linus here through outer zone 5. makes it through outer zone 6 and 7 and gets that Supra slowed down enough for that inside clip to grab outer zone 8 and finish out the run.
Yeah, dialed in is Linus, as we now have a top 44 cutoff. That's 71.2 and a 95.8 for Linus Torquist, as Steven Hatcher is at the line ready to go for his first run here in the last and final group of qualifying here for round 5. For a big swing and picking up throttle and staying along the track edge, somehow not dropping a tire, but does quite make a correction there in outside zone 4, working his way through outside zone 2 now, and up the hill on a good midline through there before transitioning into outside zone 3, filling it all the way. Ooh, and dropping a bit of tire in outside zone 4. Can he keep it on track for 5? It is difficult after dropping in 4. Last and final transition, nice and snappy from Steven, but does have to work that car back into the inside and across the finish line.
Hey, overall, not a bad run at all from Steven Hatcher there. I think that'll still be enough exactly to get him into the 90s, and 91 for Steven Hatcher for run number 1. We move over to Stanislav Tarasov in that Mercedes AMG GT. Lights go on, off he goes. Down the straight, initiating in. Looking good so far as he initiates through into outer zone 1, putting it right near the track edge and holding it there through most of outer zone 1. Now the transition to outer zone 2, gets the track edge by the exit. Transitions up the hill towards outer zone 3, putting it right on that yellow line. Now down the hill through 4 into 5. A very good job through 5 as he makes the final transition for the final 3 outer zones. Looking good doing it.
Yeah, not a bad run from Stanislav. You see that top 44 go higher, so a 95.8 on the board for Stanislav Tarasov, and that'll make that cutoff an 86.2 for top 28 and 92.5 to lock yourself into that top 32. Here's Ethan Minima returning in his E36 and working that car to the outside, but we do see just a tiny bit of puff of dirt there in outside zone 1, working his way through outside zone 2 now. And up the hill, nice and smooth. Putting that tire along that yellow line for outside zone 3, down across 4 now, up into 5, planting that throttle and staying along that track edge as Ethan Minima's big transition for the last and final turn. Could have been a little bit deeper for the zones, but there he goes, filling the last and final one.
Well, very good run there from Ethan Minima indeed. A 93 on the board for run number 1. Group number 5 here, just coming out swinging. Daryl Diaz, the final run for the first set of qualifying runs. Before we go back up to the top, let's see what Daryl Diaz has in store for us for run number 1 of his qualifying session. The lights go on, and his qualifying run is underway. Initiating in for Daryl, looking good into outer zone 1, right on that track edge through outer zone 1. Drives off it just a little bit, though, as he gets midway through it and then back on it towards the exit. Transitioning for outer zone 2, makes his way out to that track edge by the end of outer zone 2 to set him up for the transition into outer zone 3. Not quite on the yellow line, but pretty close to it and getting there by the end of it. Through the Manji section into outer zone 5. Holds a nice line through outer zone 5 and now drives out of it through outer zone 6, throwing lots of angle at 7, but getting that S15 slowed down and through the inside clip in the final outer zone.
Yeah, Daryl Diaz locked in with the rotary powered S chassis. 93 on the board for Daryl Diaz as we see that top 28 cutoff score, which is again to lock yourself into the top 32 later today, is now a 93. Victor Lacheris currently safe. 96.5 on the board, but can he better the scores? He works his way through the first outside zone. Holy moly. All the way along that track edge for outside zone 2 as well. Good angle, good line as he heads up the hill and makes his transition for outside zone 3 and puts his tire right along that yellow line, filling outside zone 4 now. Good transition for 5, plants that throttle and works his way through this giant outside zone. Last and final transition, filling 6, 7 as well. A tiny little hiccup there as he picks up throttle and across that finish line.
Victor Lacheris trying to improve, and improving he does. 97.7 for Victor Lacheris' second run. That is a solid run from Victor Lacheris. I'd be happy with that one. As next up, sitting on an 87, is Darius Ostreka in the BMW, initiating in, looking good off the initiation into outer zone 1, just along that track edge, very, very close to it as he leaves outer zone 1, transitions into outer zone 2, puts it right to the track edge of outer zone 2, climbs the hill now for outer zone 3, and looking good through outer zone 3, comes off it but quickly goes back out as he makes his way through outer zone 4, now into outer zone 5, holds his way through it, keeps himself steady, only a few more to go, transitions for outer zone 6 and 7, grabs that inside clip, drives out to outer zone 8 and finishes out his run of qualifying.
Yeah, I think that'll be enough to better the 87 that he currently has on the board, and it certainly does. A 95.5 on the board. So we now have Austin Zalewski back at the line for his second run. Currently sitting on the 96.7. Here he goes, initiating in, picking up that throttle and staying along the track edge for outside zone number 1. Transitions across, burying the throttle into the floor. There's Austin Zalewski as he works his way up the hill now, filling outside zone 3 right along that yellow line. Good transition for 4, little off throttle there, picks that throttle back up for 5. Working his way through it and staying on that track. Good transition for 6, filling 7 as well. Tight to the inside clip, and there he goes, finishing out his second run of qualifying.
Austin wanting to improve to his 96, and he does, matching a 98. Another driver to get a 98 here today. Wow, this course, some are just absolutely loving it. At the line now, Dimitri Mitten sitting on a 91. Let's see if Dimitri Mitten can improve his score. Down the straight, initiating in, looking good off the initiation through outer zone 1, just ever so close to that track edge, as now he comes up into outer zone 2, makes that transition happen right along that track edge for outer zone 2, up towards outer zone 3 now, gets it there, puts it there, drives off it, but quickly regains it by the exit, now through outer zone 4, and now into outer zone 5. Good angle, good speed, no left foot brake, down the hill into outer zone 5 and 6, or sorry, 6 and 7, towards the inside clip and through 8 to finish out his final run of qualifying.
Yeah, trying to better the 91. Will it be enough? And it is a 94.7 now on the board for Dimitri Mitten. That will move him on up the board just a little bit there into 21st position. Here we are, Maxime Tengai, again missing the sound, so we'll put on a little bit of background noise as he works his way through outside zone number 1. Nicely done, nice and smooth as well from the little 1 series here, working his way through outside zone number 2 and now up the hill. Good transition there. Ooh, and kind of hanging a wheel off the back of outside zone number 3. So he is now in outside zone number 5, this giant outside zone as they pick up speed and then transition, drop to speed again, and then work their way around this inside clip. Nicely done from Maxime Tengai.
Well, Maxime finishing out second run of qualifying, ending up with a 92.5. Not beating his 94.8, but a solid second score indeed. Sitting on a 95.8, Linus Tornquist in the Toyota Supra, leaving the line now to start run number 2. Can he improve through outer zone 1? A big bobble as he enters into outer zone 1. Quickly makes up for it though, still filling out all of outer zone 1. Transitions into outer zone 2, putting it right on the track edge. And just barely, not even dropping a tire, but it looked like he was going to. As he comes through outer zone 3 now to the transition for the Monges section. Outer zone 4 into outer zone 5, carrying lots of speed. A quick dab of the left foot brake as he leaves outer zone 5 through outer zone 6 and 7 into that inside clip. And a very fast and strong second run here by Linus.
Yeah, going after the 95.8 he already had on the board, but falling just a little bit shy of 93.7. As we bring Steven Hatcher back to the line for his second run. Steven sitting on a 91. And will need to better the 91 if he wants to grab a spot in the top 32 instead of heading to those last 16 qualifying battles. Here he goes, initiating in, picking up throttle, staying along the track edge here for outside zone number 1. Tons of angle before transitioning for outside zone number 2. Dude plants that throttle and works the car up the hill now, and he drops a little bit of tire again right before the outside zone number 3. Tries to keep it on for 4, but I think dropped a little bit of tire there as well. As he stays on for outside zone number 5. Last and final transition, tons of angle that we always see from Steven as he works his way around that inside clip and across the finish line.
Steven Hatcher finishes out qualifying with a 91.7, just barely beating his first score of that 91, but a good tiebreaker score when it comes down to it. Up to the line now, sitting on a 95.8, Stanislav Tarasov in that Mercedes AMG GT. The lights go on. Let's see what he can do for run number 2. Initiates in, flick initiation to outer zone 1. Holding good speed and angle as he's right along that track edge. That's a big car to throw at those outer zones. He comes through outer zone 2 now along that track edge, looking nice and clean up the hill towards outer zone 3. Really going for it here as he just keeps it along that track edge of outer zone 3 through 4. Now into outer zone 5. Holding a nice line and angle through outer zone 5. Only a few more to go here through outer zone 6, 7, dives that inside clip, grabs it, gets through 8, and finishes out his final run of qualifying.
Yeah, good way to end qualifying for Stanislav. 95.8 currently on the board. Is it enough? 95.7, so just a tiny bit shy. 0.1 shy, but he'll hang on to his current position. Ethan Minima currently sitting on the 93. Just shy of locking in a top 32 position. Here he goes. Run number 2. Any better than 93.3 that's needed. Filling outside zone 1. Nice and smooth transition into outside zone 2. Locked into his angle as well. Now working up the hill. Gaining that speed. Planting that tire along the yellow line. And down for 4. Up into 5. Right along the track edge. Gonna keep it on the course. He does. And is flying through outside zone 5. Now 6. Filling 7. Nice and smooth around the inside clip. And across the finish line. Ethan Minima.
Ethan Minima going for broke on run number 2. And it pays off big time. 97.7 for Ethan Minima's second run. As we come to our final driver here of qualifying before we go into our last 16 battles. Daryl Diaz at the line, sitting on a 93. Let's finish out qualifying strong, shall we, Daryl? Initiating into outer zone 1, tons of angle, tons of speed right along that track edge through all of outer zone 1 as he makes that transition up to outer zone 2 now, keeping it right along that track edge. Daryl transitions up to outer zone 3. And looking good through outer zone 3 as well, through the Monges section. making it work into outer zone 5, the make it or break it outer zone, and holds his foot to the floor through all of outer zone 5, gets the S15 slowed down enough to grab that inside clip, finishes out the run strong, and I think that's going to improve his 93.
Yeah, if he can get a better than a 93.5, and he does, a 96.7 on the board, so that should lock in a top 32 position for Mr. Daryl Diaz. We'll take a look at our top qualifying scores from today. Vitali staying on top with a 98.8. Alan Hines with his 98.8 as well. Tikon Pileski with a 98, and Austin Zalewski also with a 98. Zach O'Sullivan, Victor Lucheras, and Ethan Minima all with their 97.7s, and Daniel Andreev with a 97.5 to round out the top 8. We'll have to clarify those. Sometimes it doesn't take into account of the tiebreakers, but sometimes it does. But we'll work our way on down, and Kevin Stump works his way on into the last 16 qualifying battles as we go all the way to that 44th qualifier. So again, the top 28 are locked in to the top 32, which will happen later today. But up next, our last 16 qualifying battles, which is 29 through 44, get put into a 16-man bracket, and they'll battle it out for the last 4 positions in the top 32. So we'll take a short break here from our wonderful partners, and then we'll come right back with the last 16 qualifying battles here for round 5 at Luddenham Raceway. Alright. Welcome back, everyone. This is round 5 here at Luddenham Raceway, and we've got our last 16 qualifying battles coming up next. Here is the last 16 qualifying battles bracket. Take your screenshots now. If you'd like to follow along, we'll pull them up when necessary as we work our way through this bracket. But again, first will be the left-hand side of the bracket. Ethan Pikachu and Jordan El Nasser. Jordan making it in. Masashi Yoshida and Daniel Mora. Daniela Parangelskis, Samuel Cuddy, Kawain Ebanks, and Kazuki Fukushi, all on the left-hand side of the bracket. First, if you're just now joining us and missing out on qualifying, here is today's line map. Start of the course at the bottom of your screen, through the chicane and down the medium run-up we have here as we watch those cars throw it into turn number 1 in that big outside zone. Through turn number 1, transitioning across the track, have a tiny little off throttle area there before picking up throttle for outside zone number 2, and then staying mid-track. It is very important for that lead driver to stay mid-track, leaving outside zone 2 and heading into outside zone 3. We want to see those drivers sort of pick up their speed going up that hill and kind of opening the door for that chase position as they transition into outside zone number 3. And then down into the little valley for clip number 4 and out to clip number 5. A long and big outside zone. For outside zone number 5, no walls here as well as you transition down into your next decel zone for clip 7, filling 6 and 7 around the inside clip and out to your last and final outside zone for clip number 9. I believe we have our first drivers coming to the line now. Again, Ethan Pikachu and Jordan El Nasser.
I think we're going to move over.
Let's refresh the bracket because they did have a mistake. I thought I heard them say something about it. Boom, there it is. So it's going to be Nick Hang and Kevin Stump first.
All right. So here we go. Nick Hang at the line, the first battle of the last 16. Nick Hang in lead lane. Kevin Stump ready to chase him down. Initiating in, looking good off the initiation. Kevin Stump kind of getting hung up there, trying to initiate alongside of Nick Hang into outer zone 1. They get through outer zone 2, now to transition towards outer zone 2. Nick Hang doing a good job out front. Now Kevin Stump is starting to relax into that chase lane and really get on the door there of Nick Hang through the Manji section into outer zone 5. A big gap and a big bobble there from the chase of Kevin Stump as they transition to that final corner. Kevin Stump, that chase is kind of all over the place, but Nick Hang doing a good job out front.
Yeah, let's take a second look on the replay here. We see Nick Hang initiate in and a small little bobble there from Kevin Stump in that chase position, but gets it together. Smooth transition into outside zone 2. Now we do see Nick add a lot of angle there, leaving 2 and ends up a little bit track right, kind of cutting Kevin off just a little bit there, but they keep things going anyway. Nick Hang picking up that throttle, and we see that big dive from Kevin Stump in that chase position. Has to check up quite a bit for outside zone number 5, but quickly reels him back in, stays with him through this last and final turn, and there they go across that finish line. work their way up the hill now. And Nick Hang kind of falling off the course there on the right-hand side of the track, heading up the hill, bumper to bumper through this transition, bumper to bumper once more, and door to door through that outside zone. Picking up outside zone 7 around that clip and across that finish line. So let's take another look here on the replay. Kevin Stump out front, initiating in, filling outside zone number 1 nicely. Does kind of drop a tire there. We see a little bit of dirt pop up and a big dive from Nick Hang in that chase position, but it gets quite rattled. There they go up the hill now, filling outside zone 3. Down into the little valley for 4, nice and clean into 5, but there is the boop from Nick Hang in that chase position. Really kind of messes him up more than it does Kevin Stump out front. Kevin, nicely done around that inside clip, and there they go across that finish line. And we go to our judges for the first time here for round number 5. Nick Hang on the left, Kevin Stump on the right. And there they go, sliding right for Kevin Stump. Kevin Stump gets the win and moves one step closer to the top 32.
Big congratulations to Kevin Stump, as now I should be coming through. I don't know what was going on outside, some sort of construction, so I wanted to make sure that didn't come through the live stream, so I muted myself. As we're at our second battle now. Brandon Patrick now in the lead lane. Masashi Yoshida ready to chase him down here for run number 1 to see who will go up against Kevin Stump in the last 16. There we go. Now the lights come on and we're ready to go for this battle of the last 16. Initiating in is Brandon Patrick, right with the Masashi Yoshida as they come into outer zone 1. Good job from Brandon Patrick. Masashi quickly on the door through outer zone 1. Bobbling away though in that chase lane as they come through outer zone 2. Now a little tap there from the chase of Masashi as they climb up the hill towards outer zone 3. Beautiful job out front here by Brandon, but Masashi's all over him as they come through the Manji section into outer zone 5. Masashi gets on the door, weaving away though, trying to keep up with the speed of that BMW as they come into that final hairpin through that inside clip. Another little tap there from the chase as they finish out that run.
Yeah, scrappy start to this battle as we see Brandon Patrick throw that Z4 into outside zone number 1 with Masashi right there with him through that zone. Nice dive into outside zone 2, but there we see a little bit of contact there. Doesn't really affect Brandon Patrick out front as he makes a good transition into outside zone 3, but hasn't quite shaken Masashi Yoshida in that chase position right along the bumper and making a dive into outside zone number 5. A couple of small little bobbles there from that chase position. Big transition to finish things out around that hairpin and across that finish line.
Well, let's see what happens here in run number 2. Masashi Yoshida now in the lead. Brandon Patrick ready to chase him down. The lights go on and the second half of this battle's underway. Down the straight, Masashi initiates in. Brandon Patrick right there with him as they come through outer zone 1. On the door is the chase of Brandon. They leave outer zone 1 and transition along the bumper into outer zone 2. Brandon quickly regains any proximity lost in that transition as they come up the hill now, getting lost in the smoke almost. He reappears through outer zone 3. Masashi doing a good job out front here, but Brandon Patrick is giving Masashi no breathing room as they come into outer zone 5 and sticks with them all the way through outer zone 5, almost making contact on the transition, and does make contact into that inside clip, bouncing him out, but making him fill outer zone 8 quite nicely.
Yeah, let's take another look. Big initiation from Masashi Could have been a little bit deeper in outside zone number 1. Brandon Patrick staying right there along that bumper through the first transition, staying with him through outside zone number 2. A little bit track right is Masashi as he transitions up the hill, fills outside zone 3. Brandon Patrick still right there in tow, right along the bumper through that transition, heading into outside zone number 5 and staying with him, matching the angle nicely. Here's that last and final transition, picking up that throttle. Yeah, it's a close one there. Judges might take a couple of different looks at that contact there in that last and final turn. But there they are. Brandon Patrick on the left, Masashi Yoshida on the right. Winner moves one step closer to the top 32. Yeah, there it is. So Brandon Patrick does take home the win, overhearing the judges. It is from that contact. And Masashi coming in maybe a little bit hot to that last and final turn, and then trying to get that car down into the inside clip by dropping some speed outside of the decel area. We want to see those drivers pick up that throttle in that outside zone number 7 or clip 8 on the track map, and kind of carry it through that inside clip.
Well, here we go with the next battle as Brandon Patrick will be up against Kevin Stump later on, as we have Simon Sandman in the lead, being chased down by Kazuki Fukushi. A good initiation from Simon out front. Kazuki sticking right there with him, kind of biding his time through outer zone 1, not quite getting right up on the door until outer zone 2 there, having to dive way to the inside to avoid contact as they come through outer zone 3 now, through the top 3 down to the Manji section. Kazuki really applying the pressure here as they come into outer zone 5, just sticking right with them, not leaving the pocket but not getting close enough where something might happen, like some unwanted contact. They come through that inside clip through outer zone 8 and finish out the first half of this battle.
Yeah, let's take a second look at it here. Nice initiation from Simon Sandman, filling that outside zone. Does hang a tire off the back of that first outside zone, number 1, but does a nice job with number 2. And there we see the checkup from Kazuki Fukushi in that chase position. Now, if that's caused by something Simon did out front, then it'll be on Simon, but that'll be for the judges to determine as they work their way through outside zone number 5, now filling it all the way. Good transition across into 6, filling 7 down across that inside clip and continuing on across that finish line.
Well, now back around at the start line, flipped around and ready for the second half of their battle. Kazuki Fukushi now leads. Simon Sandman ready to chase him down. Who will take one of the next spots in the last 8, initiating in. Looking good for Kazuki. Tons of angle through outer zone 1, but then a tap from Sandman sends him off course. And whoa, that'll be something for you, Craig, in the replay. But that looked like just too much aggression from Sandman there.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we hear quite the throttle blip from Kazuki out front. We'll wait for them to finish their run here, filling that last and final outside zone and across that finish line. We'll go to the replay here. Again, Kazuki out front, initiating in, picking up that throttle, pulling out of the angle. Yeah, it's a tough one. Again, judges might take a couple of different looks at it. They again, anyway, continue with the run. It will come down to that contact. We'll let the replay fill out. Simon fills these outside zones nicely, and Kazuki tries to reel him back in, even though unfortunately the run is kind of over at that point as the lead zeroes out across that finish line. And we go to our judges. Simon on the left, Kazuki Fukushi on the right. And they are going to slide right for Kazuki Fukushi due to that unfortunate contact in turn number 1 in the second half of their battle. So Kazuki moves forward one step closer to the top 32, and next up, Danielis Paringauskas and Deshaun Reeves.
Well, congratulations to Kazuki for moving on, and Sandman, I'm sure we'll see you at our final round, round number 6 in just a few weeks. But next up, to see who will be up against Kazuki Fukushi, we have Danielis Paringauskas in the lead lane being chased down by Deshaun Reeves in that Corvette. The lights go on, and this battle is underway. Down the straight they come. Initiating it is Danielis. Looking good into outer zone 1. Deshaun Reeves right on the door through outer zone 1. As they leave outer zone 1, leaves enough room for that transition to outer zone 2. Quickly regains that proximity loss in the transition. Now up the hill towards outer zone 3. Deshaun's got to get on the throttle here. Get into that pocket as he leaves room for the transition in the Manji section. Now into outer zone 5. So close together through outer zone 5. So much speed. You've got to watch the transition here, not get hung up. And he doesn't, and sticks right to the door of Paringauskas as they come through that finish line.
Yeah, really nicely done in that last and final outside zone and turn. And here we go with that replay. Danielis nicely done through outside zone number 1. Same with Reeves in that chase position, bumper to bumper through that transition. But here we see Danielis added some angle there and end up very far track right, which cuts Deshaun Reeves off in that chase position. But Reeves does a really good job to get right back into the fight, right along that door for outside zone number 5, matching that angle really good here. And then this last and final out or turn, the whole entire thing, Deshaun stays with him nicely.
Well, now back around at the start line. They're ready for the second half of the battle. Deshaun Reeves now in the lead. Danielis ready to chase him down. The lights go on and off they go. Deshaun initiates in, but Danielis maybe making some contact there off the initiation, but it doesn't upset Deshaun in that lead as they come through outer zone 1. Now into outer zone 2. Danielis starting to put on that pressure after losing some ground on that transition as they climb the hill towards outer zone 3. Danielis a lot closer into outer zone 3 than Deshaun was in his chase run. They come down the hill through the Manji section into outer zone 5. Danielis sticking with Deshaun in that lead lane as they come through. Understeer and contact into outer zone 7 from the chase of Danielis.
Yeah, an unfortunate one there. I mean, like a missile coming in that last and final turn. So we take another look here on the replay. Reeves filling outside zone 1 nicely. Good transition across. Filling outside zone number 2, working his way up the hill now. Nice line in the middle of the track there. Transitions, plants that wheel along that track edge, and fills outside zone number 3. 4 as well. Danielis making a dive there for outside zone number 5, trying to stay with the Corvette out front. Good transition here, and then picking up throttle maybe a little early, and just headed right on into the front of that Corvette. We'll go to our judges here. Danielis on the left, Reeves on the right. Winner, again, moves one step closer to the top 32. And there it is. They slide right for Rampage Reeves, and he'll move one step closer to the top 32. So we'll bring up our last 16 qualifying bracket here. Kevin Stump, Brandon Patrick, Kazuki Fukushi, and Deshaun Reeves all getting the win and moving forward in the bracket. But up next, Ethan Pikachu, Martinez Ostreka, Stephen Hatcher, Daniel Mora, Russell Jones, Samuel Cuddy, Coane Ebanks, and Victor Alves, all up next in our last 16 qualifying battles. And those of you in chat, judges do have access to quite a bit of extra information on their own screens.
coming to the line, our first battle of the right-hand side of the bracket. Ethan Pikachu slots into that lead lane in that Nissan Z up against the E90 of Martinez Ostreka. The lights go on, and the first part of this battle is now underway. Initiating in. Looking good for Ethan out front. Martinez on the attack through outer zone 1. Really sticking to the door there through off the initiation through outer zone 1. Leaves just enough room for that transition and quickly gets back on the door of Ethan Z as they transition to outer zone 3. Coming through it, looking good down the hill for the Manji section, leaving just enough room for that transition, and maybe transitioning a little too hard into outer zone 5 and losing a little bit of ground there was Martinez in that chase position. But they come through outer zone 7, a bobble from the chase once more before leaving outer zone 8 and finishing out the run.
Let's take another look at it here with Ethan out front, initiating in, picking up throttle, and filling outside zone 1 nicely. Could have been a little bit deeper here and there, but not much more that you can ask for. Good transition into outside zone 2 now, working his way uphill. Does add a little bit of angle, but does end up into a mid line. Working their way through outside zone 3 at the top of the hill, down for 4 and up into 5, where we see a little bit of a dive there and hesitation from Martinez Ostreka has to get back into the fight, and he does so nicely. But Ethan, we see him pick up throttle, jump ahead a little bit, and there they go across the finish line.
Background at the start line, ready for the second half of their battle. Martinez Ostreka will now lead. Ethan will chase him down. The lights go on and the battle's quickly underway. Initiating in, looking good for Martinez out front. Ethan really diving into outer zone 1, giving him a couple love taps there through outer zone 1 as they leave it and transition to outer zone 2. Ethan dives up on the door again of Martinez as they climb up the hill towards outer zone 3. And look at that, no breathing room. Ethan is leaving nothing on the table here as they come through the Manji section into outer zone 5. And Ethan quickly gets wheel to wheel with Martinez as they come into outer zone 6. And almost a touch, maybe a touch. Slowing down a lot was Martinez there. But Ethan preemptively saw it and stuck right on the door through to the finish.
Yeah, let's take another look at the replay here. A flying run from Martinez out front. But Ethan couldn't be shaken in that chase position, staying right there with him through outside zone number 2. Good line coming up the hill, picking up that speed, opening the door up for that chase position is Martinez out front. Good transition down the hill as well, filling 4 into 5 now, but we see some tire drop there in outside zone 5 from Martinez out front. Good transition across, dropping a tiny little bit of tire there in 6, grabs 7, and then gets pushed along that last and final turn. We go to our judges here. Ethan on the left, Martinez on the right. And there they go. Left for Ethan Bitchercow, getting the win over Martinez Ostreka and moving one step closer to the top 32.
Well, congratulations indeed to Ethan. Moving on, taking one of the remaining last 8 battles places as we move on to our next battle. Steven Hatcher in the lead lane in that S13 up against Daniel Mora in the E30. Initiating in is Steve Hatcher. Big initiation for Hatcher out front. Daniel Mora sticks right on his door though through outer zone 1. As they come out of outer zone 1, Daniel not leaving enough room for the transition, getting hung up on the bumper of Steven Hatcher as they come up now through outer zone 3. Down into the Manji section towards outer zone 5. Hatcher dropping tire, getting back up on track though. That gave Daniel in that chase a chance to catch back up some of that proximity that he lost. They come through that final hairpin and finish out the run.
Yeah, nicely done. Let's take another look at it here. Steven out front, all the way out to that track edge, and a bunch of angle for outside zone number 1. Maybe getting a little boop, but definitely a boop there through that first transition of the course. Good line going up the hill. Good transition into outside zone 3 right along that track edge. And down into the little valley for 4. Transitioning up and does end up a little bit shallow and then too deep. Is Steven Hatcher out front, dropping a little bit of tire on the back of outside zone number 5, but does a good job with 6 and 7 around the inside clip, and last and final outside zone.
And now background at the start line, ready for the second half of their battle. Daniel Mora now leads. Steven Hatcher's ready to chase him down. The lights go on for the second half, and only one can go to battle Ethan here. Initiating in is Daniel Mora. Steven Hatcher falling back a little bit there, but whoa, way off track goes Daniel Mora. I couldn't tell if that was 3 tires or 2, but now Steven Hatcher almost kind of bullying him through outer zone 2. Wants to keep that wheel speed up so he doesn't lose that proximity in that chase. They leave outer zone 3 down the Manji section towards outer zone 5. And look at that, Steven Hatcher going onto the door through outer zone 5, leaving no room for error. He's got to be careful here as he almost goes right into the door and straightens out in that chase lane. Oh no.
Let's take another look here. Daniel initiating in, picks up throttle and picks up speed like crazy, and it really does throw him off track, almost 3, and then now he's got some dirty tires that makes him a little bit slow for outside zone number 4. Steven comes in hot, makes some contact. They work their way into outside zone 3 now. All is well. They work their way through outside zone number 4, now into 5. Steven staying with him, maybe making a little bit of contact there in 5, and then really going for it. He does drop a little bit of tires, so that could have been part of it, but then like literally shuts the run down there before the last and final outside zone. I think he had it in the bag there until that moment. So judges on the left, or excuse me, judges are in the middle, and Steven Hatcher is on the left. Daniel Mora on the right. Winner moves one step closer to the top 32. This could be an interesting call. Judges going back on the in-game replays. Check that out. Yeah, they are starting to slide. Chris goes left for Steven. Ed goes right for Daniel. Carl goes left for Steven. So a split decision and a very interesting battle here with a lot of mistakes. Maybe we can get Chris on in here. after he explains it to those drivers to give us an explanation as well. My guess is they ended up zeroing the run when Daniel drove off track. Maybe it was 3 tires off, or there was a lot of decelling happening in that last and final turn. But again, we'll hear from Chris here in just a moment, I believe, right after he explains it to those drivers. And they're gonna send him.
All right. Well, getting into this battle, Russell Jones in the lead, being chased down by Samuel Cuddy. Russell Jones doing a good job off the initiation. Samuel trying to stick right with him through outer zone 1 as they come into outer zone 2. Samuel grabbing that proximity back, getting up on the door by the exit of outer zone 2, transitioning all the way up to 3 now, starting to pull away a little bit as Russell Jones in that lead, but right back at him is the chase of Samuel Cuddy. They come into outer zone 5 and a big bobble from the chase as he tries to catch up to the door of Russell Jones, but he comes in with too much speed and smacks the side of Russell Jones's Supra, but luckily it doesn't upset the run and they still finish it out.
Now let's take another look at it here with Russell Jones out front, initiating in, picking up that throttle nice and smooth through outside zone number 1. Samuel Cuddy right there in that chase position. Good transition, staying with him through outside zone number 2 as well. All is clean so far as they work their way up the hill now. Nice and balanced through this run. Nicely done from Samuel Cuddy in that chase position, reeling him in. Not quite matching the angle and gets left behind a little bit from Russell Jones out front. And there's the big dive, a little bit on the inside as well from Samuel Cuddy. And there they go across that finish line, finishing out the first half of their battle.
And now back to the line, ready for the second half of the battle. Samuel Cuddy now in the lead. Russell Jones ready to chase him down. To see who will take the next spot in the last 8. They get the green, the light goes on and off they go for the second half of this battle. They initiate in. Samuel Cuddy getting bullied a little bit through outer zone 1. A couple love taps there from Russell Jones in that chase position. Russell Jones backs off just a little bit, give him a little bit more breathing room through outer zone 2 and 3. And didn't know if that was from too much decel from Samuel Cuddy out front. We'll find out on the replay as they come through outer zone 5 now. Russell Jones really gets up on the wall, but some tire dropping happening from that lead as they transition now to outer zone 6 and 7. They get through that inside clip. Russell Jones not giving him an inch of breathing room, though, through that last section.
Yeah, but is he too aggressive here? Let's take another look on the replay here. Almost getting a little bit too aggressive there. Yeah, he's just a little bit on the inside of Samuel Cuddy through outside zone number 1. Backs off for outside zone number 2. Slowly reels him in, bumper to bumper through that second transition of the course for outside zone number 3 as they fill it at the top of the hill. Nicely done for 4, but dropping a little bit of tire is Samuel Cuddy there as well for outside zone number 5. We see Russell have a small bobble in that chase position as well as they fill 7 and work their way around that inside clip and across that finish line for the second half. And now we go to our judges. Russell Jones on the left, Samuel Cuddy on the right. And there it is, another split call, but Russell Jones gets the win. Chris and Ed go left, and then we have a one more time from Carl there in the middle. But that's going to give the victory to Russell Jones, and he moves along. Again, one step closer to the top 32, and we've got just one more battle here in the beginning stages of our last 16 qualifying battles.
We sure do, and this one will decide who will go see Russell Jones off of that win. So Gawain Ebanks in the R35 in the lead lane up against Victor Alvarez in that S15 in the chase. They wait patiently for those lights to ignite so we can get this final last 16 battle underway, and there it goes. And off go the drivers down the straight, initiating in. Good initiation for Gawain Ebanks out front, tons of speed. Victor Alvarez leaving him a bit of room off that initiation, but then regaining the proximity at the exit. Now they come into outer zone 2, and Victor's all over that R35 as they transition up the hill to outer zone 3. Gawain doing a great job out front here. Victor sticking right with them as they transition into outer zone 5. A tap from Victor Lacheras going into outer zone 5, carrying a little too much speed. He's got to watch out here for the decel into outer zone 7, and he does. Sticks right to the door of Gawain Ebanks, giving him a few other love taps at the end.
Yeah, let's take another look on the replay. Gawain Ebanks leading Victor Alves through the course and doing a nice job with it, filling outside zone number 1. Nicely done for outside zone number 2, getting a little tap from Victor Alves in that chase position as they transition into outside zone number 3, right along that trek edge, filling 4 as well. Nice and snappy for outside zone number 5 and getting a shove from that chase position, Victor Alves. Last and final transition, nicely done, really smooth by both of these drivers as they cross that finish line with a little bit of contact.
And back around at the start line, ready for the second half of this battle. Victor Alvarez now out front, ready to be chased down by Gawain Ebanks. The lights go on in the second half of this battle. It's quickly underway, initiating in, looking good off the initiation. Gawain sticking right with Victor, giving him a little love tap there off of outer zone 1. They come through outer zone 2 now. Gawain keeping that proximity. Victor doing a good job out front here as he comes into outer zone 3. Gawain sticking right with them, keeping a good proximity as he transitions right along the bumper into outer zone 5. No contact through outer zone 5. Victor Lacheras going through the dirt as he flies into outer zone 7. But Gawain keeping the car right where it needs to be that whole run as they finish out the battle.
And here we go with the replay. Victor Alves out front, filling outside zone 1, picking up throttle really soon. But Gawain almost pushing him through it as he backs off a little bit for the transition, puts his bumper along that S15. They transition up the hill now, filling outside zone number 3 at the top of it. Back down the little valley, filling 4. Good transition into 5. Nice and clean from both of these drivers. Until there, we see a little bit of tire drop from Victor Alves there as well for 6. Phil 7 gets around that inside clip and across the finish line. We'll go to our judges, Gawain Ebanks on the left, Victor Alves on the right. All right, we have a decision. Gawain Ebanks gets the win over Victor Alves and moves one step closer to the top 32. And we'll pull up our bracket. Kevin Stump and Brandon Patrick move along and will battle each other. Same with Kazuki Fukushi and Dijon Reeves. Ethan Pikachu, Stephen Hatcher, Russell Jones, and Gawain Ebanks all moving forward in this last 16 qualifying battles bracket. So up next, it will be Kevin Stump and Brandon Patrick.
And I will give a shout out. I'm sorry, Victor Alves. I apologize. It's early over here, you know. I'll take that L.
And we'll take another look at our bracket here before we bring those next drivers to the line. You can take some screenshots if you'd like to follow along. Now we're in the last 8. And Kevin Stump and Brandon Patrick. So I believe we may need a competition timeout from Kevin Stump here. And I believe we'll bring Kazuki Fukushi and Tashawn Reeves to the line. And here comes Sean Reeves. He will lead first against Kazuki Fukushi, number 40th and 41st qualifiers. Lights are on, and they are through the chicane.
And down the straight they come. Dijon Reeves in that lead, Kazuki Fukushi chasing him down. As you see Fukushi getting all out of shape off of that initiation, just trying to fight that GR Corolla the whole way around. They come through outer zone 2, and he's starting to look a bit more comfortable in that chase position. But Dijon doing a wonderful job out here in the lead as they come down through the Manji section into outer zone 5. Making his way through outer zone 5, Kazuki way far back, not having a good time on the first half of this battle. He manages to get into the pocket just before the finish.
Well, let's look back on the replay. Big initiation from the Corvette out front, a small little angle correction, and then we see Kazuki completely fall out of it there in that first turn. Continuing on to Sean, adding some angle before transitioning a little bit track right, cutting Kazuki off just a hair as they work their way down into the valley, now up into outside zone 5, and Deshaun leaving Kazuki behind quite a bit for outside zone number 5. Last and final transition, snappy from Deshaun out front around that inside clip, filling the last outside zone, and we'll flip them around for the second half of their battle.
And flipped around indeed. Kazuki Fukushi now in that lead lane, and Dijon ready to chase him down. Lights go on in the second half of this battle's underway. Initiating in is Kazuki, looking good this time around. Dijon right there with him as now they make the transition towards outer zone 2. Dijon Reeves having to back out of it a little bit, almost went right into the door of Kazuki Fukushi as they come into outer zone 3. Now making their way down into the Manji section. Dijon doing everything right in this chase so far, losing a bit of ground here in outer zone 5, but Kazuki now starting to find his own in that GR Corolla as he slows it way down, gets up on the rumble strip for that inside clip, but manages to finish out the run.
Now let's take a second look here. Kazuki Fukushi out front, initiating in, picking up that throttle, staying in outside zone number 1. And Deshaun right there in that chase position, bumper to bumper through the first one, and a big dive into outside zone number 2. We see a little check up there from Kazuki before heading up the hill, getting into outside zone 3 now with Reeves right there in tow, chasing him down into outside zone 5 as we see a little bit of sacrifice in that angle out front in the beginning portion of outside zone number 5, but nicely done here, but does end up a little bit backwards, puts a wheel on that rumble and across the finish line. So we'll go to our judges here between these two. Kazuki on the left, Taishan on the right. Winner earns a spot in the top 32, and it is going to be Deshaun Rampage Reeves moving on into the top 32 after qualifying 40th.
Well, big congratulations to Dijon for that win. And now we will move to our first yet next battle that we were supposed to have after that competition timeout was called. Kevin Stump now in the chase lane, ready to chase down Brandon Patrick out front. Brandon Patrick initiates in, lots of angle into outer zone 1, slowing himself down quite a bit, but Kevin Stump reacts to it, and even though he rode his door for half of that outer zone, sticks with them as they come through outer zone 2, now into outer zone 3. Kevin Stump doing a good job here in that chase. Brandon Patrick doing a really good lead line here as they come through outer zone 5 down to outer zone 6. Right along the door goes Kevin Stump, almost pushing him through those final 2 zones.
Yeah, let's take a second look at it. Graphic is super wrong there, as that is Brandon Patrick being chased down by Kevin Stump as Brandon fills that first outside zone, and nicely done for outside zone number 2. But again, Kevin Stump right there with him, bumper to bumper through that second transition as well, and outside zone number 3, both of them filling it at the top of the hill. We do see a little bobble there from Kevin Stump in that chase position, trying to hunt that Z4 down, and he does a nice job with it. And outside zone number 5 stays with him through the last and final turn as well, pushing that Z4 across the finish line.
I think I just started a trend with messing up names, so I do apologize. I'll just take the L for that one too. Next half of this battle, Kevin Stump now leading, ready for Brandon Patrick to chase him down. They wait for the lights to ignite for the second half of this battle to see who will be the next one to move into the top 32 battles later today. The lights go on and off they go. Through the chicane, down the straight, initiating in. Kevin Stump right with him, Brandon Patrick, as they come through outer zone 1. On the door already is Brandon as they leave outer zone 1 and get ready to transition for outer zone 2. Looking good so far through outer zone 2. Kevin right along that track edge as they come up towards outer zone 3. Look at Brandon here, just sticking right in the pocket, not leaving as they come down through the Manji section. They transition on the bumper through into outer zone 5, and there's Brandon Patrick really trying to close that gap. Kevin Stump doing a good job out here so far as he locks up those front tires, trying to get that Mustang slowed down, and they come through and finish out the run.
Now let's take a second look here on the replay. Kevin Stump out front and going for it here, filling outside zone number 1. Quite the bobbles here and there, but Brandon Patrick dealing with it nicely as they work their way through outside zone number 2. Now up the hill, the big Mustang, that Z4 right along the bumper through that second transition, filling outside zone number 3, down for outside zone number 4, and up into outside zone number 5 now. Brandon Patrick matching the angle and line nicely through outside zone number 4, and this last and final turn here, we see those front wheels lock up from Kevin Stump, and there they go across that finish line. Kevin Stump on the left, Brandon Patrick on the right. Winner moves on into the top 32, and here they go, sliding right for Brandon Patrick. We'll see Brandon Patrick in the top 32 later today.
A good job from Brandon Patrick making his way to the battles later today, as we have our next battle coming to the line now. Ethan Pikachu in that lead lane in that Nissan Z up against Steven Hatcher in that S13. Lights go on and off they go. Down the straight, initiating in. This battle's now underway. Huge initiation from Steven Hatcher, getting too aggressive with it and going right into the side of Ethan off of that initiation, almost setting him off course. I don't know how Ethan saved that, but he managed to. Now they come through outer zone 2, up into outer zone 3. Steven Hatcher still not giving him any breathing room in that chase position as they come through the Manji section. Hatcher's just throwing that S13 all over the place, trying to stick with Ethan as they come through outer zone 6 into 7, almost going into a reverse entry in that chase with Steven, but sticks with him through the door to the end.
Yeah, let's take another look at it here. Big initiation. There we see that bit of contact from Steven Hatcher. It looked like a rear wheel to rear wheel, adding some angle to Ethan and Pikachu out front. They continue on though, a little bit far track right. We see Ethan adding angle, leaving outside zone number 2, cutting Steven off, but Steven drops back, deals with it nicely, does get hung up in that transition through outside zone number 4, and here just can't quite get into it in that chase position. Another big dive there. We do see Ethan go a little bit backwards there in that last and final turn, but I think he held his momentum pretty good through it.
Well, now we'll see what happens in the second half of this battle. Steven Hatcher will now lead things out. Ethan ready to chase him down. The lights go on in the second half of this battle is underway to see who will take the next one of the next remaining spots in the top 32 later today. Steven Hatcher initiating in beautifully, but then going off course. Ethan almost predicting that, slowing right down for that first outer zone, and then deciding to catch up into outer zone 2. Now they come through outer zone 3. Hatcher still kind of all over the place, not really comfortable with that S13, but now look at that. Ethan goes right up onto the door of Steven Hatcher as they leave outer zone 5, and in the final few outer zones that remain, he misses out on that inside clip, goes wide, and drives that S13 all the way through that final outer zone.
Yeah, let's take a second look here. Big initiation from Steven, picking up that throttle, and then doesn't add the angle when he needs to there to remain on that course. Drops just one tire in outside zone 1, does keep it going. We saw Ethan back up there in outside zone number 1, as you said, almost like he predicted it there out in front. But then starts getting quite aggressive through the run here in outside zone number 5, staying right there with him as that lead makes a couple of corrections here and there. Could have been a little bit deeper on 7, and then goes wide of the inside clip and really reels out of the angle before crossing the finish line. So we'll go to our judges. Ethan on the left, Steven on the right. Winner moves on into the top 32. And they are starting to slide left for Ethan. Pikachu getting the win over Steven Hatcher. Steven just being a little bit too aggressive, really going after it in his lead run as well. But we'll see Ethan in the top 32 against the winner of our last and final last 16 qualifying battle.
And that battle is at the start gate. We got Russell Jones in the A90 Supra in that lead, ready to chase him down. Kawain Ebanks in the R35. They patiently wait for the lights to go on to see who will take this final spot in the top 32 battles. The lights go on and off they go. Down the straight, initiating in along the bumper was Kawain Ebanks, almost pushing Russell through the initiation into outer zone 1. Russell doesn't go that deep into outer zone 1. Kawain has to adjust for it as they come into outer zone 2 and leave it now up the hill towards outer zone 3. Kawain putting all sorts of pressure onto Russell Jones. They leave outer zone 3 down into outer zone 4 through the Manji to outer zone 5. That is Russell Jones, one tire off, bouncing away. That leaves Kawain the chance to really catch up. Kawain has to adjust his angle in that chase lane for that inside dive that Russell made. They make through the run clean.
Yeah, let's take another look here. Russell Jones out front and not quite filling outside zone number 1. I'm barely in the zone there, barely in the zone there as well. Maybe dipping a little bit of tire outside of the zone. And Kawain doing a good job to deal with it in that chase position. A small, tiny little bobble from Russell Jones there out front, but a good transition into outside zone number 3 all the way to that track edge. Kawain, again, still right there in that chase position. We see a little bit of tire drop there in outside zone number 5. Again, Kawain dealing with it nicely, bumper to bumper, and there we see maybe Russell dropping a little bit too much speed as we see him pull out the angle just a little bit, but Kawain was also on the inside. So let's see what happens in the second half of the battle.
Well, we'll get to see that here very shortly. Kawain Ebanks now in the lead. Russell Jones ready to chase him down. The lights are already on, initiating into outer zone 1. Lots of speed there from Kawain Ebanks into outer zone 1. Russell Jones catching up to him and getting in the pocket as they transition to outer zone 2. Russell's getting it on the door and putting on the pressure as they leave outer zone 2 towards outer zone 3. Wayne doing a good job out front here. Russell Jones really keeping that car exactly where it needs to be as they come into outer zone 5. Nice and clean by both drivers here. They make the transition through outer zone 6 and 7 right along that inside clip. Russell Jones kind of almost bullying Wayne through that final outer zone.
A really clean second half of the battle, as well as we take another look. Kawain out front initiating in a lot more speed and stays in outside zone number 1 much better, much deeper there as he transitions for outside zone number 2. Russell going for a dive and staying with him in outside zone number 2. Drops back for that transition, and Kawain fills outside zone number 3 at the top of the hill with Russell Jones right there in chase, bumper to bumper through those 2 transitions, and then Russell matching line and angle almost perfect through outside zone number 5. Good transition for 6, filling 7 as well around that inside clip. Teeny tiny little bobble, and there they go across the finish line. We go to our judges one more time here in the last 16. Russell on the left, Kawain on the right. Winner moves on into the top 32. And there they go, sliding right for Kawain Ebanks. Kawain moves on into the top 32. We'll pull up our fully updated bracket here and take a look at those 4 drivers moving on into the top 32. It's going to be Brandon Patrick, Ethan Pikachu, Deshaun Rampage Reeves, and Kawain Ebanks, all moving on into the top 32. So they get slotted in this order. Ethan Pikachu will become the 29th qualifier. Sorry, a little distraction there. So Ethan will become the 29th qualifier. Kawain will be 30th. Brandon Patrick will be 31st. And Deshaun Reeves will be 32nd in our top 32 bracket. Again, that will happen later today. So we'll take a break here around about an hour. We'll get our main event top 32 scheduled on YouTube with that direct time, and we'll see everybody back then. But what a qualifying session we had. I mean, tons and tons of 90s, as we'll pull up the top qualifying scores there. Again, Vitaly qualifying at number 1 with that 98.8, Alan Hines with a 98.8 as well, and Tikhon Pileski also with a 98 to round out the top 3 qualifiers today. And then that last 16 bracket played out nicely. Let's see if we have an updated top 32 bracket for us. Get refreshed and pull it up onto the screen. Yeah, there it is, your top 32 bracket. Take your screenshots now if you'd like to before we head to our break. Tanner, what you think?
Absolutely insane qualifying. I'm not sure what Victor made it through yet, but I'm sure I'll figure it out by top 32. But no, absolutely insane. I mean, did you see how many 98s were up there? And all from the top guys that are all fighting for that championship. It's going to be absolutely insane in battles, because all it takes is one misstep and somebody could run away with the championship today before the final round, or it could make the final round a make it or break it round. It's going to be absolutely insane. You do not want to miss the top 32.
Yeah, absolutely. Now it does, taking a look at the bracket, we do have Alan and Tikhon both on the right hand side of the bracket, so they could meet each other in the final 4. And then they'll decide on who goes to the finals. But we've got Vitaly that's been on a burner too the past couple of rounds in that number 1 position. Austin Zalewski down there in that 4th position. And then let's find Zach O'Sullivan, yeah, down there in that bottom left-hand side of the bracket. So it could get interesting here later on today. Again, we'll take a break here, shut this stream down. We'll schedule our next main event stream, and we'll see all of you then. Thanks for tuning in today. Thanks to Sim Magic, Grip Roll, Joka Design, Ali Yusuf, and Horthan Mods. We'll see you soon.
You would be, have a little, you would be.